Moments ago, Jamie Little caught up with The Rock.
Mike, how cool is this? The Rock is with us to help kick off the NASCAR season. And on March 30th, you are going to help kick off the UFL.
Yeah.
Tell us about this new league and what you expect.
Well, first of all, I got to say it's awesome to be here. So for everybody at home, if you haven't been to a race, you got to go because this is incredible. Now, as for the UFL, cannot wait. The United Football League, I expect great football, passionate football. We all believe in spring football. We have the great support of the NFL, but most importantly than that, we have the great support of the fans. And the idea that we're going to create more opportunities for players and their families is really all that matters.
We can't wait to see it. All right, everybody knows you are the people's champion. So as you look at 100,000 people here, you're about to give the most famous words in racing. What's going through your mind?
Again, I have chills. This is incredible. There's a word I like to use all the time called mana, and you could feel the mana on the track, on this pavement. Over 100,000 people. The people are going crazy. I'm honored to be the Grand Marshal, to say those words. And what I love most, I met all the drivers. They're so amazing and welcoming. But what you realize, they're all after that shot at greatness. And I cannot wait for the race to start.
We're so happy you're with us. Go do your thing.
Yes, ma'am. Here we go.
He'll bring the energy, Mike.
Great to have him here.
Well, Kevin, when we had him on yesterday's show, man, talk about mana. I felt the mana when he walked up, the presence of that great, huge human. I mean, the specimen that he is. He told us he was in bed at midnight and got up and worked out. I guess that's what it takes to be that big.
Well, we definitely won't see you getting up at midnight to go into the gym, but we know that the Rock is here, and when he talks about the hype and excitement and everything that is going on at the Daytona 500, and he can feel it, you know that the energy is high.
Mana.
At this moment, 30 drivers, maybe more, think I have a good chance to win the Daytona 500. And the other 10, I've got a shot. If I can stay in that lead draft, it could happen.
This is the ultimate test. You have to battle adversity. Attrition comes into play. A little bit of luck into the Daytona 500. Everything, Kevin, has to be perfect.
Well, the biggest thing that is different from the Daytona 500 and the start of it is all the hype, the anticipation, and that enthusiasm that I believe all 40 drivers feel like they can win the race. So this is always the hardest part, for me, was controlling those emotions to start this race.
We've seen it all. First-time winners. They can win it. Everybody on this racetrack can pull it off today.
Let's enjoy a few moments of silence, the last we'll have for the next nearly 4 hours here in Daytona. Let's go trackside to The Rock and U.S. Army Chief of Staff General Randy George.
Daytona International Speedway. This is a moment you have all been waiting for. Here to give the command of fire engines is actor, entrepreneur, founder, and United Football League co-owner, the Grand Marshal for the 66th running of the Daytona 500, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
In the proud spirit of America and in the proud spirit of our great country, finally, The Rock says, drivers, start your engine!
We are 500 miles from history here in Daytona. Green flag next.
It's time for the 66th running of the Daytona 500, the great American race at Daytona International Speedway. The NASCAR Cup Series first raced here in 1959, and the Daytona 500 has been the season-opening race since 1982. With corners banked at 31 degrees, a long, sweeping front stretch banked at 18 degrees, and a 3,000-foot backstretch dubbed the Super Stretch, this 2.5-mile superspeedway was built for high speeds and high intensity. Drivers position their race cars mere inches apart as they use the draft to maintain speed all the way around the speedway. Cars go so fast on this track that the engine horsepower is decreased and drag increased to help keep speeds under a 200 mile per hour threshold. The race is broken up into 3 stages, the first 2 stages being 65 laps in length. The final stage of 70 laps completes the 500-mile length of this event. The prestige and chaos of 40 race cars all within a half of a second of each other can be both exhilarating and intimidating. We recently caught up with a few drivers to talk about what it's like to race at this legendary facility, and here's what they had to say.
Running the Daytona 500 it's kind of complicated. It's a race that means so much to our whole sport, and so the pressure's high. But it's a race that's not won in the beginning, but it can be lost in the beginning.
Super Speedway racing is crazy. You got guys on your left and your right. You're inches away from them. You're hitting the guy in front of you. They're hitting you from behind, and you're always constantly scanning where those cars are around you.
I think the biggest thing is before you could make a run at the win with 10 to go from 25th. Now, say that your entire race is being strategized on trying to be in the front for the last stage.
And last.
Welcome back to Daytona. Closing in on the start of the 500, there is U.S. Army Chief of Staff General Randy George here for the pre-race ceremonies. And we've had quite an air show from the Air Force Thunderbirds. My gosh, everybody's ducked at least twice. Here's the starting lineup for the 65th Daytona 500. It's an all-Ford front row with the 2015 winner Joey Logano for Team Penske and the 2021 winner Michael McDowell.
Let's check in with Joey Logano. Hey, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick up in the Fox Sports booth. You're on the pole, buddy. Tell us what you plan to do to stay there.
That's the $1 million question right there. A lot of things can happen at 500 miles, but I got a great Shell Penzo Mustang. It looks good out front. Got another Mustang with me there, so we'll try to work together the best we can to stay towards the front, get through the pit cycles, and get through the stages, and ultimately be there at the end.
All right, buddy. Good luck today. Put on a show for us.
Oh, it'll be a show no matter what. Enjoy it.
All right, row 2. Both of the dual winners for this week. Tyler Reddick, number 45, and the 20 of Christopher Bell.
Row number 3 is 6-time most popular driver Chase Elliott and 2022 Daytona 500 winner Austin Cindric.
Row 4, Alex Bowman, who finished 5th last year from the pole, and 3-time Daytona 500 winner Denny Hamlin.
Let's dial up old Denny Hamlin. Hey, Denny Hamlin, it's Boyer and the boys up in the Fox Sports booth. You got us?
10-4, I got you.
All right, man, 3-time Daytona 500 winner. The Toyotas, they all seem lights out this week in Daytona. How about this stat? Do you realize winning today would tie you with the legend himself, Cale Yarborough, for second all-time right here at the Daytona 500? What would that mean to you?
Well, I mean, probably the best driver that ever drove the 11, that's for sure. So I'd love to have that company for sure. We're going to have a little luck to go our way to have it all happen, but I can say, we've got as good a shot today as we've ever had.
All right, buddy, good luck. Go get him out there.
Thank you, guys.
Row number 5, the youngest driver in the field with Carson Hocevar, and starting 10th is John Hunter Nemechek.
All right, row number 6, that Jones boy, number 43, Eric Jones. How about 21, Pride of the Wood brothers, Harrison Burton.
Row 7, Daniel Suarez finished 7th last year, and the 2022 truck champion rookie Zane Smith.
Row number 8 is Ty Gibbs, 2023 Rookie of the Year, and Brad Keselowski, 2012 Cup Series champion.
Row number 9, the number 5, Kyle Larson, 23 Cup wins, but none here. His teammate William Byron on his outside in the 24 car.
Starting 19th is Chris Buescher, and starting 20th is Chase Briscoe, who finished 3rd in 2022.
All right, row number 11, Busch Beer all the way. How about my beer fans out there? Ross Chastain off the chain, and Justin Haley on his outside in 51.
Row 12, Hall of Famer Jimmy Johnson is back to run the 500. He's paired up with Bubba Wallace, a 2-time Daytona 500 runner-up. Josh Sims.
Well, Mike, 7-time Cup champion Jimmie Johnson has never been in a situation like the one he was this week, having to race his way into the Great American Race. He said he hasn't been that nervous in a very long time, but he survived the wreck to race his way into the Daytona 500. The work wasn't done there. Damage to the car. They were able to fix it during practice. He feels good about it. Now remember, Jimmie races part-time these days, much less experience than the rest of the drivers in this next-gen car. What he does have experience in, winning the Daytona 500, Jamie. He's done it twice.
Well, Josh, Bubba Wallace was one of the many drivers that had damage in the dual races on Thursday night, and because of that, he will start mid-pack today. But don't count him out. This 30-year-old has a knack for this style of racing. He's finished runner-up here in the Great American Race 2 different times. Can you imagine the storyline if he could deliver the ultimate trophy to his boss man, the legend, Michael Jordan?
Rolling off 25th today, a guy who rolled over 10 times here last August, Ryan Preece, and Kaz Gralla, who raced his way in the duels on Thursday.
Row number 14, he's a champion, folks. Number 19, Martin Truex Jr. Been here a long time, yet to get his Daytona 500 win. On his outside, number 16, A.J. Allmendinger.
Row 15, Corey LaJoie. Is he your sleeper pick? He runs really well here. And 33-year-old rookie in the number 4, Josh Berry.
Row 16 is Todd Gilliland and our 2023 Cup Series champion, Ryan Blaney.
Row number 17, everybody loves the number 3, Austin Dillon, driving it this time, 2018 Daytona 500 winner, and his teammate on his outside, number 8, Kyle Busch.
Here's Regan Smith.
Well, Mike, Kyle Busch is perhaps NASCAR's fiercest competitor, and he has used that fierceness to gain 63 wins and 2 championships. But the one that has eluded him is the Daytona 500. Much like last year, a crash in Thursday's qualifying races has relegated him to a backup car. But also, much like last year, the team feels great about that backup car and the chances of him getting to the front with it and perhaps claiming that first Daytona 500 win.
35th, the 2023 500 winner, Ricky Stenhouse in the 47. And from Las Vegas, Riley Herbst, to finish 10th in last year's 500.
Row 19th, making his 3rd Daytona 500 start, is Daniel Hemrick, and right behind him is Noah Gragson.
Rounding out the field, row 20, Anthony Alfredo locked himself in a qualifying night, and on his outside, David Reagan in out RFK car. Entry for this thing, the 3rd entry for RFK. Keep an eye on David. He'll be marching to the front.
These drivers will go to the rear because they've had to move to a backup car, largely after what happened at the conclusion of one of Thursday's qualifying races. Let's show it to you. Watch the yellow number 12 of Ryan Blaney get turned and take a savage hit into the outside wall, measured at 55 Gs.
Man, it still hurts, Kevin.
And it's on fire, too, so there is nothing good about that, and we're just glad to see Ryan get out of that car.
Ryan climbed out okay, practiced Friday, now has a new helmet and a new car. Let's check in with our crew chief, Larry McReynolds, and a look at aerodynamics.
Yeah, Mike, anytime you're at a high-speed super speedway like Daytona, to be faster, it's all about the draft. The more cars you can get in the line, the faster you're going to run. So let's take a look at airflow at our Toyota Cutaway Camry car. This is a single car right here. This is what the airflow will look like. You're going to see max downforce on the front of the car as well as in the rear of the car in that rear spoiler area. That actually more downforce and hurts the drag. But as a car approaches that lead car, you're going to see the airflow change. It takes downforce away and it gives it less drag, which makes them run faster as one unit. Look at the hood flaps as the pressure changes on that trail car. That's the reason they come up. Now, the more cars you can line up, the faster you're going to run. Mike, this is why after a green flag pit stop, you want to make sure you have a partner to draft with to maximize that speed after leaving pit road.
Thanks, Larry. Safety in numbers.
Well, it is safety in numbers, and when you look at that graphic, when you see that hood flap stand straight up, you know you're doing a good job, but you need your team of manufacturers to do what you need to do to stay in the front and even get to the front if you're not already there.
Strength in numbers.
That's right.
Yes. All right, it's time for Toyota Rev Up to Green.
Toyota is proud to be pacing the Great American Race with the new Toyota Camry XSE, which continues to be proudly built in Georgetown, Kentucky. With this innovative new look, TRD and Cal-D Design work collaboratively to imitate many of the production Camry's striking features on the new Toyota Camry XSE NASCAR Cup Series race car, including the distinctive Toyota Hammerhead front fascia. The latest version of the Toyota Camry, which has been the best-selling sedan for 21 straight years, is scheduled to hit showroom floors later this spring.
It is a beautiful day in Daytona. It's Bill France weather, as they said. First almost 60 years of this race, it was never rained out. 60 degrees. Winds out of the northwest at 12. Track temp due to the sunshine 90 degrees. And how about this crowd? They're going to run the Xfinity race tonight, about an hour after the 500 concludes. And Daytona Speedway president Frank Kelleher said, if you have a ticket for either race, come on for the day.
I'm so happy to see this crowd. Hey, they waited it out with us. Torrential downpour, ladies and gentlemen. I saw tents underwater out there. It didn't slow our people down. They're here to see these boys put on a show, and that's exactly what they're going to see.
200 laps, 500 miles is the scheduled distance, and the race will be run in 3 stages of 65, 65, and 70 laps. Now, each of those stages are longer than the cars can go on fuel, so we'll have at least 1 pit stop in every stage. Well, we know they built a few of the new Toyota Camry XSE, one in that feature, and here's one out here leading the field. Big lower grille area with C-shaped corner vents, a hood with new character lines and duct exits, updated thinner tail lights. Cool piece in showrooms this summer.
Well, the coolest piece is that nose on that Camry that it pushes really, really well.
On the race car.
On the race car.
Yes.
Yeah, don't push the pace car.
Big difference that body's made in what we've seen down here at Daytona.
All right, Joey Logano, the pole sitter, has chosen the outside lane for the start. Here is Michael McDowell alongside.
He's done a great job all week. Go do what we came here to do. Just great effort. 500 miles. It's what we all dreamed of. Daytona 500. Doesn't get any bigger, any cooler, any better than this. So take it in, enjoy it. But let's go do what we came here to do.
That's a confidence you don't always hear in Michael McDowell, but you hear it at Daytona. Daytona 500 champ. Boy knows how to get this thing to the end of this thing and be a part of that picture when you come off of turn 4 for that magical moment.
Yeah, the one thing I've really noticed about Michael is he's just become that leader. When he talks and he tries to do the things that he does, he's very calm, like you say, but he's become a leader. And you've seen this team progress over the last couple of years. They just keep getting better and better, and they've been rewarded by Ford with that Tier 1 support and all the things that they're going to get from their manufacturer as well.
Now, good luck to the spotters up on the roof above us, 3/4 of a mile away from where these cars are now, telling those 2 yellow cars apart if they both stay up front.
Well, one's got a hearts all over it.
Oh, well, that.
I mean, surely we can pick the ones with the hearts out, don't you think?
All right. Well, I want to know Kevin, what's your heart rate right now compared to last year's Daytona 500 in the seat of the number 4?
My heart rate's still high because I know what those guys are feeling coming to the green flag. The anticipation, your heart rate, and that's one thing that we will talk about as this race starts is the anxiety of coming to the green flag at the Daytona 500.
Off turn 4 in the 31-degree banking in the 1,200-foot short chute. Pace car will take a hard left turn now, and they will face the green flag for 200 laps, 500 miles to start the 2024 season. Green flag, the Daytona 500 is underway. Still building speed in the back straightaway.
Well, they're building speed, Mike, but the one thing I can tell you about the start of this race that all the drivers are going through is going to be experiencing the speed of the pack that they haven't experienced all week. All 40 cars in the pack, they've only raced against half the field so far, and right now they're all lined up, building speed, but speed that they haven't felt before this week.
I think this weather's going to play a role in it. Mike, you told us about the weather. Sun's out. You can see it shining down on this racetrack and on these cars. These boys are going to have their hands full here in a few laps, and these things start slipping and sliding around, and tires wear out.
And after 2 solid days of soaking rain, you don't want to end up in that infield grass. That will be a difficult escape.
Well, we qualified at night. We raced in the duels at night. You see the sun shining like Clint is talking about, and these guys are going to experience that as they get 10, 12, 15 laps into this run. But the thing I can tell you is it will also go through a bigger swing today because of the fact that we're starting in the sun and going to end in the dark.
They're lined up like the pace lap, but they're doing 186 miles an hour.
Man, Clint, there is nothing like the sound of these race cars when they come by you, and you hear those cars come by our cameras and rattling the cameras, and the speed of the cars as they go down the back straightaway there. There is nothing like it, and the drivers are still a little bit tense.
Well, right now it's bumper to bumper traffic as we know it, right? Nowhere to go, just follow the leader. Shortly, you're going to start seeing, we got a pair of Fords in the front, Toyota's the second row. You see a Penske car, you know that's a Logano teammate. These boys are going to start finding each other. It's just a matter of when and how.
And it's just like they experienced Thursday night. The beginning of this race is really, how does my car feel? Is it hitting the ground? Am I comfortable in the seat, steering? And we see the same excitement that little guy sees in the grandstands watching our screen right here.
The other thing about this race in particular, you know, we've watched the duels. I heard you say that's a half a field, half a pack. This is the first time all of these guys have felt their cars running this speed. Larry showed us how much of a difference just one car makes behind. Can you imagine a whole field? 40 cars back there making it.
All right, here's the first breakout up in turn number 3, 3 wide, about 7 or 8 rows back. Things starting to move in mid-pack. Ross Chastain was the first to break out to the outside. There you see his blue and white number 1 with Josh Berry behind him.
Well, that's the two strategies that the other drivers are on in the back of the pack. How do I get to the front? You know, and Ross Chastain's like, man, I'm going to tow this pack with me. And you see a lot of guys in that outside line lined up behind him wanting to be aggressive and get to the front of this pack fast.
Well, he ain't the only one either. Other guys will get greedy. You see Brad Keselowski in that 6 car jumped up in front of him. He won't be the only one coming to the front.
John Hunter Nemechek, the 42. He's looking up high. Maybe perhaps trying to hold both the middle and the high lane back in his 42.
Can't be iffy in these decisions, Kevin. That spotter says clear up, you better be there.
Oh, crash! 2 cars slam together, and Harrison Burton takes a wild ride through the grass and up into more traffic, gets tagged, turned around, and 5 cars are in it. Ryan Preece.
I think he missed that inside wall. Harrison Burton, big damage on the 21 car.
And Carson Hocevar, the rookie, gets taken out into that very, very wet grass in the ball field.
Well,
the Wood brothers trying for their 100th ever NASCAR win, and Harrison Burton gets tagged and sent.
Well, this is exactly what you don't want to see happen. Something early in this race where everybody's trying to race hard, and we just talked about those guys going to that 3rd lane, and it puts those guys in the middle lane in a bad spot with the handling of their cars that they hadn't really been in. Let's see what happened, Clint.
Watch the 21, Harrison Burton.
Okay, you see Harrison Burton in the middle of that 3 wide conversation we're talking about, and we are also talking about John Hunter Nemechek kind of being iffy on his move.
Now the 42, John Hunter Nemechek on the outside of Burton, the green and white car, and Brad Keselowski and he make contact.
Keselowski got to his rear bumper, just took a little bit of a lub tap, turned him sideways, kind of looked to me like he was on the left corner of that bumper, turned him right down into Harrison Burton.
Well, and it's just what we were talking about, Clint, with everybody trying to feel out exactly what their cars were doing, and those guys in the middle didn't have anything to do with the handling. So, you know, you see Brad into the back. Oh, yeah, you're exactly right, Clint. The 42 car of John Hunter Nemechek just got up a little higher. Brad was probably trying to stay square and being pushed by the guy behind him, and they just got a little bit offset right there.
Austin Dillon, Jimmy Johnson among those with damage in this one. We're 6 laps in at Daytona. It's not too late to play the NASCAR Super 6 Challenge. Just download the Fox Sports app right now and make your picks for a chance to win your share of $10,000 in cash prizes and VIP tickets to next year's 500. Here are the cars with at least some damage in this crash. Kaz Grala was the car Harrison Burton came up and slammed into when he came back up onto the racetrack. Austin Dillon also got some damage, as did Jimmy Johnson. John Hunter Nemechek at the front of this, and rookie Carson Hocevar. There's Johnson at rest. All right, let's have a look at how and where this gets started.
Yeah, and this, you called this, Mike. This starts right here with John Hunter Nemechek as he tries to block this upper line right here. Brad Keselowski coming. Brad sees he's middle of the road. You see him check up right there, and it checks the whole lineup. Well, as he checks up, the one car of Ross Chastain's right on his bumper, ships him back forward with a run of speed, and John Hunter's up a little bit higher than Brad Keselowski is. They get their bumpers off center, and off it goes.
There's Hocevar tangled up with Burton's number 21. He comes back up the blue and white car. Wham! Kaz Grala. Wham! Austin Dillon. Jimmy Johnson got involved a little further back, and Ryan Preece slides right past the end of pit road, but did not contact the wall.
We're lucky he didn't tear up any more cars than that. Look how many cars are behind him. 3 wide. You look up and see Harrison Burton sideways. Kevin, 6 laps into this race. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and as I was watching them slide through the grass, I was hoping they didn't do this and come back up the racetrack. You see, that's where all the cars got torn up. Jimmy Johnson's cars, it just depends on that left front tire and if the toe is knocked out, or I see him with the hood up on pit road. But Harrison Burton, what a terrible break for the Wood brothers and everything that you prepare for over the last 3 months. And we see this race go that time every once in a while. Just these early wrecks that sometimes start with just people trying to go and trying to move forward.
Burton would have been okay, but for coming back up on the racing surface, obviously couldn't slow down. Kaz Grala thought he had the high line clear, and he did until Burton got there. A lot of damage here. Let's ride with Jimmy Johnson.
Terrible feeling. Smoke.
Yeah, and he just.
That's a pretty good shot.
Yeah, that was a lot harder than I thought.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Harrison Burton. Riding in the middle, doing nothing wrong, minding his own business. Those guys were 3 wide on his outside, kind of stacked that line up a little bit. Nothing he could do at all.
And the one thing you notice from Jimmy Johnson's car is he was in the back of the pack there. With this particular car, you can't just hang back like you used to. You have to be somewhat close to the pack. You see Ryan Preece sliding through there. Harrison Burton's radiator and ductwork, everything fly out of the front of the car.
That's a good point, Kevin. You know, in years past, back in the day, you just ride around back far enough knowing that that's going to happen, that you could get out of harm's way. You'll lose the draft if you lag back too far.
Kaz Gralla, the Boston native, hauled back to the garage. Repairs for Austin Dillon and Jimmy Johnson. Pit road is open. Here they come. Josh.
For Michael McDowell in to top off with fuel only.
Whoa, that was close with William Byron right there. Jamie?
And Bubba Wallace, they knew right away they wanted to come in and pit. They said all we need is 2 seconds of fuel, and go, wow, there's all kinds of chaos down here, Mike.
Guys, this is worst case scenario because of all the cars on pit road and nobody's out of the race, and every pit stall is occupied, but everybody wants to keep these cars full of gas in order to put themselves in a great position.
Now, Corey LaJoie, A.J. Allmendinger, William Byron, and Todd Gilliland took tires. Most everybody else was gas only. First caution of the day comes out working lap 6. John Henry Nemechek into Harrison Burton. Big crash.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Wendy's Breakfast, 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles are here. Your perfect duo, just $3.
10 laps complete in Daytona. Here's our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, powering the race from green to checkered flag and every mile in between. Goodyear, more driven. Goodyear blimp on hand for the Daytona 500. Helping us with aerial coverage. The field in turn 3, coming to the green this time. Christopher Bell is the first off pit road in his Toyota. And series champ Ryan Blaney's Ford alongside, actually Bell was not the first off pit road. He did not pit, nor did Blaney nor Daniel Hemrick. They stayed out to gain track position.
And boy, did they. Talking about Blaney and Hemrick up 36, 34 spots. Big pickup. Need track position, found it.
Pace car is in. We begin lap 12. Burton and Grala's cars both removed to the garage. I believe everybody else was able to continue.
Well, that's either going to be a wake-up call for everybody and this is going to calm down, or that's just going to set the tone for this whole race with chaos and pushing and shoving. We know we're going to see pushing and shoving, but with that third line, that was a bit of a surprise that early for me.
I agree with that, and I think it'll be the first one that you just offered. I think it's going to calm them down a little bit. We're going to settle in. 500 miles is a long time.
And Carson Hocevar, the rookie, has taken his car to the garage also from that. Jimmy Johnson and Austin Dillon are 2 laps down, while Ryan Preece stays on the lead lap. Hocevar and Burton have been released from the care center.
And now it all resets. We see Christopher Bell and Ryan Blaney at the front of this pack. Daniel Hemrick at the front of the pack, like you guys talked, didn't pit, stayed up front. That's a call from the crew chief to say, hey, we need to do something early to establish ourselves at the front of the pack and hope that you have enough guys to pit with you, or you have another caution fall your way. And I would tell you that I would much rather be at the front, Mike, than at the back. I feel like it's safer.
Regan, how about Blaney's move to the front?
Well, my crew chief, Jonathan Hassler, said exactly what he would do earlier today. He said, I'm going to be very aggressive if there's a yellow early in the race or as green flag cycles present themselves. That's what he did right here to get his driver up front. But part of the reason he could do that, Ryan Blaney very happy with the car as it is right now. A little loose in the corners, meaning the back sliding, otherwise good.
A.J. Allmendinger having difficulty, a drive-through penalty. Right here on pit road.
See Austin Dillon headed to the garage area in that 3 car. Such a bummer.
Former Daytona 500 winner. Out of it here. Allmendinger was penalized, given a drive-through penalty for not lining up properly for the restart. John Hunter Nemechek served a penalty for equipment violation, and William Byron, to get into his pit stall, had to make a late dive outside another car, ended up in the wrong pit box. So he restarted tail end of the longest line as well.
Yeah, pit road looked like we were still in Los Angeles. It would look dangerous out there.
Watching Hemrick and Blaney pull that off and get this track position, virtually going from the tail back to the front, leading this pack, Kevin. I'm kind of surprised some other teams didn't elect to try that.
Well, we're racing towards stage 1, and everybody knows that there are points on the line. I know we're racing for the Daytona 500 and everything that we need to do, but you got to put yourself in whatever you think is the best position to not have to put tires on, to not have to, to put the least amount of fuel into it, but you got to have track position. You want to be able to be in control of this race, and that was always something that Rodney Childers and myself talked about when I was still driving the car. How do we establish ourselves at the front of the field to be in charge of the race and be able to make decisions and control the lines and do everything that you need to do? So I'd much rather be in the front. Being in the middle is easier, and riding in the back is easy, but you got to learn and race and do the things that it takes in order to be in position and know what to do at the end of this race to win.
Ryan Blaney is not just the defending Cup Series champion. He is a third-generation racing champ. Let's go under the helmet with Ryan Blaney.
I was born in Hartford, Ohio. My favorite driver growing up, besides my dad, I was a big Jimmy Johnson fan. I don't really treat myself a lot. I don't really. my fiance, she always asks me, what do you want for Christmas? I was like, I don't need anything. I don't want anything. I'm fine. I was like, well, if we win a championship, we'll get a pool. She's been harping on me for a pool for like a year and a half. I was like, all right, I'll make you a deal. We win the championship. This is like in June. But we get a pool. Win the championship. And like, one of the first things I said to her on stage, I'm like, well, I guess we're getting that pool after all. So.
Better get the hole dug. It's time for a pool, buddy. Champion, leading the pack of the Daytona 500. Still a tall order. Still a lot of things have to go right here. Still the stage end at lap 65, as you see, probably still going to have to pit, maybe without a caution or something else. A lot of business to be done in our Green 5 stop yet.
Jamie, how about our pole sitter?
Yeah, Ryan Blaney's teammate Joey Logano delivered the captain Roger Penske his first ever Daytona 500 pole. That was a big moment for them. And the car has just been so good. In fact, even in practice, they tried a completely different setup and they went back to what they unloaded with. And now, guys, after leading, they did pit, got fuel only. Now he's saying just a little bit free as he feels the car out in traffic. Josh?
Well, Jamie, I talked to Christopher Bell last year going into the Daytona 500, told me he is not a fan of super speedway racing. Well, he turned that into a third-place finish, his best ever in the Daytona 500. Came back this year, won his duel, so he's getting much better at this style of racing. Talked to him today, still not a fan, but he said the confidence is growing, and you see him running up front right now, guys.
Did you see how he was holding the wheel right there, Kevin?
Yeah, I did.
We both grabbed it, each other, and said, hey, what was that? Just a little bit of... Hey, 500 miles is a long time. Long way to the house.
And you hear Christopher Bell, the report there from Josh, talk about not liking super speedway racing. That's not uncommon. There's a lot of guys, I was one of them, didn't really like super speedway racing, but you have to put yourself in this unique mindset when you get here. And mine was always this. I have a 50-50 chance of finishing this race. So I'm either going to have a good day or I'm going to wind up in the garage with the wrecker towing me in. So that was just, I know that's always.
You only gave yourself 50% chance? Boy, I always lied to myself. I said, boy, we're going to win this thing. I don't know how yet, but somehow, some way we're going to win. Then ended up upside down on fire.
18 laps complete. Christopher Bell's Toyota side by side with Ryan Blaney's Ford for the lead. 22 laps complete in Daytona. Christopher Bell leading Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and Daniel Hemrick. Every lap that ends in a 1 is a chance for you to win one of 500 prizes being given away throughout the race, courtesy of Busch Light. Follow @BuschBeer on X and enter using hashtag BuschTona500, hashtag sweepstakes.
Now this is kind of weird, seeing the Busch Light on the car actually going around the racetrack and not driving it. But there isn't a better sponsor that activates and does everything better in this sport than Busch Light. So they had a great run with them, and I'm glad they're still on a car on the racetrack. And they'll do a great job with Ross.
Clint, put your phone down. You're not eligible.
Boy, I sure wish I was. I know a guy, though. I know a guy, Mike.
We'll get you fixed up.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We got Denny Hamlin's foot cam here, Clint. We see both feet there. You always want to keep the brake pedal foot right here, very close, because anything can happen really quick here on the super speedways. And you see his right foot, the other one modulating that throttle pedal, and you see the percentage up top. And this is all about the strategy of fuel and everything that it takes in order to put yourself in a position to do what you need to do on pit road in as little as time as possible. That we will see coming up here in a few. I don't know, probably what? How many laps, Clint?
It won't be long. I can tell you this, it won't be the end of that stage.
Well, we saw Denny Hamlin win the other night in the duel, doing the strategy that he's doing right now. Let's hear what the 5 car has to say.
We are going to be close to being able to make it, especially with what you're saving right now. The 2 front cars did not pit, and they're kind of screwing themselves because them saving, they still cannot make it, but they're going to help all of us be able to make it. So keep doing what you're doing.
That's why I love Cliff Daniels. Always giving the information only needed to that driver, Kyle Larson. He is so good at the communication of not you know, just overwhelming him, but telling you exactly what you need to say. And by the way, he's exactly spot on.
Larry Mack.
Yeah, Mike, I've been watching the throttle trace on the top 3, Bell, Blaney, and Hemrick. That's the 3 drivers that did not pit under that last caution. And I think about Bell and Hemrick, they're modulating the throttle quite a bit. But Ryan Blaney is just steady, right about 65% throttle. Right now, it looks like he can probably go about another 23 or 24 laps in that 12 car.
So he played the hand, right? The hand that they had. He got to track position. Without a caution or some help here, he's probably not going to make this stage end in a good fashion.
Well, and this isn't easy. When you're leading the race like this and having to manage the fuel, and what happens when you have one of those early cautions and it puts you in a window to be able to make it to the end of in this case, stage 1, it makes everybody want to be in that position to win the stage, because in the end, you're racing the first stage here for your points for the whole year. And we've seen people miss it by 1 point, 2 point, 3 points. Ryan Blaney beat Martin Truex Jr. In 2022 by 3 points. So, hey, you got to do what you got to do to put yourself in the right window. Might not be the same for everybody. When you look at Christopher Bell and those guys who did not pit, I don't think they can make it to the end of the stage, and that's going to put them in a really bad position. But it's like Cliff Daniels said, it's helping everybody else in the field out that they're doing that.
Well, after what happened at lap 6 and the big crash that took 4 cars out of this race, is that why we're not seeing anybody break out who could run faster on the outside and form up a 3rd lane?
Well, you don't want to be the guy that has to pit. And if you have to pit and everybody else doesn't pit, everything you've worked towards in trying to get to the end of the stage and put yourself in position kind of goes out the window. But if you're on pit road and they're under green and you have a little bit of trouble, you'll be a lap down. So you should be able to pit and be really close to not being a lap down. But if you have just one little hiccup, you're going to be a lap down, and then you're really going to have some trouble. So it's a long race. You have to be smart. We saw these guys go hard early, trying to put themselves in position, and we got a whole bunch of torn up race cars already.
I still like the gamble. It was worth it. At this point in a 500-mile race, you know that you're not going to go a lap down, even if you have to pit and they don't, whatever the case may be. It's not that big of a risk, I think. I think the reward is big time. 34 spots they found right now.
Well, the big thing that worries me is it's what, 7, 8 laps I didn't notice the number before you know, it all went off. It's a pretty big number, Clint, that difference in laps that you're going to have to pit earlier to be able to go out there and have to run with 3 cars. That's basically what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to run with 3 cars, and we know, like we saw in the beginning, the more cars you stack in that line, the faster that line's going to go. So I'm just worried about their speed if they have to pit by themselves.
Larry told me, no worry. I don't think they're not going to go a lap down. I still think the risk versus reward, it was worth it.
Now here's something we've not seen at Daytona. Usually if you lose the draft, you'll fall back further back. But with the pace being set right now, A.J. Allmendinger, who had to have a drive-through penalty and is out on track by himself, is lapping faster than the pack. He may catch them.
Well, he's hoping that he catches them.
Sure.
Yeah, we see that the pace is you know, a 51-31, and there's going to be a lot of times we run in the 47s with the whole pack. So that is a you know, tremendous amount of fuel that needs to be saved. But it's all part of the strategy. It's all part of the game.
6 laps into this race, the strategy changed dramatically after this. John Hunter Nemechek into Harrison Burton, into Ryan Preece, back up the track, melee. .32 laps complete. Blaney, Bell, Hemrick out front. Here's a special moment earlier in pre-race. U.S. Army Chief of Staff General Randy George and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson took a ride around the track in an Army ISV up on the banking there. Well, this race has completely changed. While we were in break, it became go time, and the front 4 drivers took off from the pack. Here's Christopher Bell's audio.
so damn much, it might end up hurting us on the back. I don't know what else I can do. I can put my foot down, but I'm not going to go anywhere. Maybe you can get in front of the 12, and he'll push you. He'll go. He's in our same situation.
Well, it's like they listened and heard Cliff Daniels say that to his driver, Kyle Larson. He told him that very thing. Them holding it back on us, 60% throttle, is only helping us. The card that Blaney, Bell, and those guys have with this, nail it, go for it. Let's go wide open, drive off from these guys, force them and their hand to try to pit with us. Don't give them the leverage.
Yeah, and the other thing that has happened in the middle of the pack, there were guys like, oh, this is going to be a great time that I can make up some track position. Let's drive to the front. And then the guys that were already there were like, well, I don't want to give up my track position, so we need to go a little bit faster. So there's a bunch of different agendas on everything that's happening, but the 12 car and Christopher Bell of Ryan Blaney and a 20 car of Christopher Bell put everybody back in a decision-making process to say, okay, do we want to keep our track position and try to keep up, or do we just want to sit back here and ride? But it kind of forced everybody's hand, and those guys are just going to have to do what they need to do and not help everybody.
Yeah, totally. It was only benefiting the cars that pitted, not them.
So the top 10 on the restart are still the top 10. However, that long run, 4 drivers actually got completely away from the field before everybody else picked up. And now Joey Logano's pulling that outside lane back to the front again.
Now we have a race. Now you can see everybody turn them horses loose and going for it. Logano, big runs on the outside off his teammate Cindric behind him. Now you see 3 Penske cars on the outside with Blaney pulling up.
Yeah, and what happened in the pits is everybody's going to say, well, we got this much savings and we can go this far. So it obviously looks like everybody feels like they need to go and feels comfortable about going. But the 3 guys who didn't pit, they're not going to make it to the end of the stage.
Not without help.
Look at these down markers. This is how fast they're moving, almost a football field a second here at Daytona. Larry Mack, how much has the pace picked up here?
Yeah, in the last 5 laps, it's about 3 seconds a lap. And by my fuel calculations, the 12, the 20, and the 31, Blaney and Hemrick and Bell and Blaney, they can go about another 8-9 laps based on this pace right here.
Pretty hard to believe you can hold a pack of, what, 37 cars up behind you, 3 seconds a lap, Kevin.
Well, you got to be able to put yourself in a position from a strategy standpoint. And that's one thing that has come into play with this car. There's so much going on behind the scenes with the war rooms and the pit box and the calculations, and it's a complicated game, and it just makes it that much more exciting when you have that early caution and everything happening. Jamie?
Well, Austin Cindric in the 2. You guys talked about him being a teammate to the Penske boys. He won this race in 2022. He knows how to get around, knows what to do, and he just heard those words he wanted to hear. You are good on fuel to the end of this stage. Hammer down.
Well, that's good for us too. When they tell them hammer down, that means we're going back to pushing and shoving and trying to get the best position that you can, because now we're 27 to go in the stage, and you got to start positioning yourself to try to win it.
They were like a bunch of geese. I don't want to go up front and burn more fuel. You want to go up front and burn more fuel? No, I'm going to sit right here. No, I'm going to sit right here. I don't want to be out front. Yeah. Nobody wanted to be out front until finally somebody did.
Yeah, they're typical racers. Once somebody went, it's like, well, I got to go.
But once that crew chief told me, we're talking about Austin Cindric, told me you're good to go to the end. Now it's all about track position. Now, just like we know about Daytona, find my allies, find my teammates, and get this thing to the front. More importantly, get it to the front with people that I can trust at the end of this so I can go after these stage points.
4 Fords out front, then Christopher Bell's Toyota, then Daniel Hemrick's Chevrolet. 3 Penske cars and Michael McDowell kind of fulfilling the preseason prophecy of how those Fords have speed and run well together at Daytona.
There you saw Cindric move down in his line with his Penske teammates. He saw him wave to Blaney, which let him in right there. Thank you very much, teammate.
All right, what's the difference between seeing your teammate, your real teammate from your team in your mirror versus anybody? Oh, here we go. They're going to pit.
That wasn't a wave that let me in. That was a wave we're pitting.
And drag others with them. This should be gas only, like all green flag pit stops today. Christopher Bell going to get it filled up. Ryan Blaney is in.
Big time heads up play by Bell and company on that 20 car. He didn't get the signal that we're going to pit. That was a heads up play. He saw them. They needed that pit stop, and he went with them.
Daniel Hemrick came in with the Penske cars and Christopher Bell. They don't all leave together. 2 stragglers, including Hemrick. And up in your upper left, you see the cars leading each of those 2 groups now that Michael McDowell is the race leader. More stops. Well, one more.
I think that's Buescher.
It is Chris Buescher for RFK.
By himself. I would think that's an untimely, unplanned pit stop. Possibly an issue.
.24 laps to go. That's Josh Berry right in the middle. Got up there kind of close to Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch in the outside in the 9 and the 8. Chevrolet trying to lead for the first time today. And it's Chase Elliott rolling to the front for Team Hendrick, but nobody with him. Michael McDowell, the Fords formed up on the inside to hold the lead.
Yeah, kind of a confusing cycle here, Mike, with the Penske cars coming to pit road with Ryan Blaney and some of the, we obviously knew the 3 cars that were going to have to pit, but we saw Brad Keselowski come in, we saw Ryan Blaney come in, Joey Logano, so we saw a few Fords, and I'm not sure.
Well, we heard Larry say they could make it to the end, but I think it was those cars we were talking about. Did they go down to help their teammate that they knew needed a pit, or was that not the case at all? Maybe a little bit of strategy.
We'll try to find out. Chase Elliott comes off turn number 4, trying to be the first Chevrolet to lead this year's Daytona 500. .46 laps complete, and this game has changed. Chevys are out front in a single file line. Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch 1-2, then the Toyotas of Bubba Wallace and Martin Truex. But the real drama here is with Team Penske, which all pitted together because Joey Logano and Austin Cindric needed less fuel than Ryan Blaney because they had stopped earlier. Look where they are on the racetrack. And Blaney, who pitted at the same time, had to take more fuel, was stopped for another second and a half. Look where Blaney is.
Yeah, he's way back here. Way back here.
Here's Ryan Blaney.
Let me know if you need more, please. Yeah, they're pulling away from me. They won't fan out if they're risking stage points. Okay, they get no help from me then later in the race. No, thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll explain under caution what exactly happened. You know these 3 cars that stayed out. Ryan Blaney was one of them. His teammates were not, and his teammates were the ones that had the shorter pit stop, and they couldn't afford to wait from him because Ryan Blaney is going to get caught by this pack unless these guys pit. But Joey Logano and Austin Cindric were able to have a shorter pit stop, and that's what we're going to continually talk about with the pit strategy.
And also on the same strategy, Bell and Daniel Hemrick, they're the ones that were even back further than that. They're going a lap down, getting into 3. These guys are in trouble without some help.
They were stopped under green for 6.9 seconds, 2.5 more than Ryan Blaney. So here comes the field to put those 2 former leaders a lap down.
Yeah, and one more thing to clean up there as we talked about on that pit cycle, Chris Buescher, who we thought had a problem pitting by himself, actually wound up in that same Penske group. So there was no problem with Chris Buescher.
Still 16 laps to the caution flag that will end stage 1.
You see them getting up, Bell and Hemrick getting up. You're going to see Blaney. This is going to be a battle to stay on that lead lap and get that lucky dog, Kevin.
Now you don't see Michael McDowell, who pitted with that Penske group earlier. What happened there, Josh?
Yeah, well, an issue for the 34 of Michael McDowell. He just came over the radio having an issue and had to come in and pit early. Take a listen.
Everything okay with it? Just situationally got left by everybody? I don't know. It kind of seemed a little bit slow. Like the 11 was pushing me hard. I wasn't going anywhere, so I think something's wrong. I can't even get 5th gear. Super slow. It's not going at all.
Yeah, and it's either there is something actually wrong, or when you're in this pack, and we talked about picking up 2-3 seconds, and when your car doesn't have somebody with it and it loses that RPM, it just takes a little while to build back up, and that could be what Michael's feeling.
Now Ryan Blaney pulled up to McDowell hoping to draft with him, but McDowell doesn't have speed. If there's a saving grace here, one of them will be the first car 1 lap down, and the next time the caution flags, they'll get the free pass and come back on the lead lap.
Spot on. Now we got to go to work, Kevin. We got to get up there, got to catch these other cars, battle for that lead lap lucky dog position.
There are 5 cars 1 lap down. Bell, Hemrick, Blaney, McDowell, and Allmendinger.
How's Kyle Busch get to the front? Look at this. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, those boys went all the way to the front leading this pack.
Quarter distance, 51 laps complete. Of the 200 will run today in Daytona. Chase Elliott out front, side by side. Feeding time, and this looks like most all of the Chevrolets coming to pit road at lap 55.
Well, and this is the hand that Ryan Blaney forced when he took off. It made all these guys not be able to save fuel, and now they're short for this particular stage, so here they are.
Not much fuel at all. Quick splash and go.
And they'll be pretty strung out as they come off pit road.
Busch beats them off of pit road. It's like Eric Jones stalled it, leaving his box.
Yeah, and that's what you don't want to have happen. You want to do everything that you need to do to get on and off pit road as clean as possible to get right back in line and up to speed.
Now there's that Penske group, 38 seconds behind the leaders, and here's another group. Bubba Wallace, the race leader, locks it up coming to pit road, bringing Martin Truex with him. Denny Hamlin, all the Toyotas in this time. Again, these should be fuel-only stops. And Hamlin's the first one away. Now, if there is strength in numbers, it will be in this group forming up quickly in a draft, because here come the leaders through the tri-oval.
There they are. You see them merging back onto traffic too. Kyle Busch leading. They're going to blow right past them, Kevin.
Yeah, and they got formed back up really well. Off of pit road in a single file line. All Chevrolets right there.
Did a better job.
They just did a better job.
They were cleaner coming on, more efficient coming in. You saw Bubba Wallace slid, stack that line up a little bit.
And that's what you want to do. That's That's exactly what Bubba Wallace wants to see happen. He wants to see those cars have to make a lane change in order to slow them down just a touch.
Now that group is Kyle Busch in 9th place on back of the Chevrolets who pitted. Here are the leaders. Noah Gragson from Las Vegas, Todd Gilliland, Josh Berry, Justin Haley, David Reagan, Ryan Preece, Chase Briscoe, Riley Herbst. The Fords are all lined up in positions 1 through 8. Christopher Bell, first car 1 lap down, second in line here.
See Blaney in tow right there behind him.
Well, the things that we can't see are exactly what they've done throughout this stage since they pitted to save, and what those strategies are. But one of the strategies that these guys might be on is that they might want to come to pit road as they want to run as long as they can, so they can come to pit road the most short amount of time that they can come and put fuel in it. So I'll spit that out eventually, but here they are.
I do agree with you. I know what you were saying, and that's what they have to play.
Larry?
Yeah, we've got 7 laps to go in this stage. Now, one thing about the 10 of Gragson, the 60 of Reagan, and the 41 of Preece, they came in and topped off at the end of that caution before we went back racing. Fuel calculations show they can run about 6 or 7 laps, and they're coming right now to 6 laps to go in this stage.
So the leaders, led by Gragson in the number 10. If you look at the map at the top of your screen, he just crosses the line. This group's lap times are not as fast as the group led by Kyle Busch in 8, the Chevys, or Joey Logano in 22. They are pulling away from the leaders.
They're running 50% throttle, though, I'm hearing. They're trying to make it, trying to stretch his fuel as far as possible. Talking about Noah Gragson leading that group. Got 3 different groups running out here, as you can see in your track map ahead. This is a strategy game right now, Kevin.
I'm glad I wasn't a crew chief.
They're going to pit.
Josh Berry coming in for 4 tires. We expect the others will be fuel only. Gragson and Gilliland, the 10 and 38. The 3 had been running positions 1, 2, 3 here. And Ryan Preece comes in with him. Excuse me, that's not Preece, that's the 51. That's Justin Haley.
Well, we see these guys putting 4 tires on the car, and that's going to put them in a position to have more strategy in the next stage.
Haley gets fuel only. The others take on tires.
And what I mean by that is when the caution comes out for the stage break, these guys are for sure going to come in and just put fuel in their car.
That will hand the lead to the driver who a month ago wasn't even scheduled to run this race, David Reagan, who is added to Team RFK, Roush Fenway Keselowski, as a teammate to Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher, with Ryan Preece right behind. Here's Reagan's radio.
I'm just going to leave it on 50% throttle and
do it. And just make sure the 41 knows this.
Yeah, copy. Yeah, he was just down here talking to me. Or 41, they know where we're at.
You see him. I'm going to leave it at 50% throttle, and I'm going to the end of this thing. That is what we're going after. How about Priest? He was the one that barely missed that wall, was collected in that wreck, just might ended up with a second place out of this stage. This is going to be close.
Meanwhile,
50% throttle. The question is, will this pack catch him at 50% throttle?
Meanwhile, Christopher Bell and Daniel Hemrick, when those leaders pitted, they got back on the lead lap, and so did Ryan Blaney. Michael McDowell is now the first car one lap down. So in the map at the top, you see 60. That is Reagan, the race leader. Kyle Busch in third with a group that is running 5 seconds faster a lap.
All right, Kevin, I listened to you at the top of the show. You told me all the manufacturers, you go in as a driver, you're listening, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to pit at this lap, we're going to do it together. We're going to do it as a manufacturer group. Holy cow, look down this list on the pylon. They're all over the place. 2 Fords leading, Chevrolets, a gaggle of them, and then Toyota's behind them. They're all over the place.
Yeah, I think that the first 2 guys are, you know, they're going really slow. Obviously, you see that the Chevrolets eat them up there, but the Chevrolets and the Toyotas are together as we go through this first 2 packs here. So it's the Chevrolets have done a great job in doing what they need to do on and off pit road.
Well, Reagan and Priest, they might make it to the end of the stage, but it won't matter. They've lost the track position and moreover the points that they were going after, stage points.
But they should be able to stay on the lead lap, which will keep them in the top 30 for stage 2.
Well, and what's going to happen as we see 2 to go here, they should be able to start racing here and do what they need to do to try to get themselves in a position to get stage points. So it's either 2 to go or 1 to go. It depends on what the manufacturer has told them, what the team plan is to get to that point as to when you can race.
That's exactly right. And I see 2 teammates, Hendrick cars behind them. Look, 1 in between Daniel Suarez. Then you see Larson already going to the outside with Bowman. Look for Chase Elliott and his teammate as well, Byron, to go up. 4 Hendrick cars pouncing on your leader. Coming.
The points earned in each stage, 10 through 1 for the first 10 finishers. They carry with you all through the season. Some of these teams are counting points beginning right now.
How about this? Byron moved up to go around him. Busch made a block, separated those Hendrick cars. Now Chase Elliott to the lead. Final lap of the stage.
Lap car slow on the bottom. Chase Elliott trying to bring them around and pick up the stage win after a truly disappointing 2023. Kyle Larson, teammate to Chase Elliott. Will he ride with him? Will he try to grab those 10 points and the stage ticket for himself?
We see Ross Chastain coming to the back bumper of the 5
car. Gonna see a push. Gonna see momentum. Watch his 5 going to the outside of Chase Elliott.
That's what it took. Now
Big push by Chase. I think the win goes to Chase Elliott. Fantastic.
Chase Elliott gets his 2nd stage win in the Daytona 500. 6 Chevrolets in a row come to the green and white checkered flag. Stage 1 is history. Elliott the winner. So the stage ends with 6 Chevrolets out front. The Fords of Reagan and Priest completed the stage and then immediately dove to pit road. So they'll have to start out back, but they are on the lead lap. And the first car 1 lap down, A.J. Allmendinger, gets the free pass. He'll be back on the lead lap. Well, as they come to pit road, sounds like a great time for Daytona 500 Fox. Crank it up.
Go. All clear, go.
Kyle Larson wins the race off pit road. John Hunter Nemechek's car has lost fire. They tried pushing him out of the pit. He is now stopped. And Tyler Reddick had trouble getting going. Finally, Reddick, grabs a gear and gets gone while Nemechek's car is sitting motionless on pit road.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Busch Light. Race for the mountains. Enjoy responsibly.
68 laps complete. John Hunter Nemechek did get his car refired. Turned out he had run out of gas, was trying to restart it sitting there on pit road. He did. He rejoined the field. Let's recap pit stops, beginning with Josh.
Start with the 48 of Alex Bowman. For him, the first time in 7 years he did not start on the front row. Still happy with the way the car entered the race, but right now he was complaining about rear security, so they helped him out. Also gave him 4 tires and fuel. Regan?
Chase Elliott in the 9 car has been pleased all day long. Not a word about how the car is handling or what's going on, just him quiet on the radio, learning to work with brand new spotter Trey Poole, who is on the roof. The first different spotter Chase has had through his Cup career. Also the 45 of Tyler Reddick stalled on pit road as well. The reason for him stalling was actually came in at too much of an angle into the pit box, didn't want to gas it up too hard with fear the back would swing over and hit the wall. Jamie?
Well, Regan, today is the 40th anniversary of Hendrick Motorsports' first Daytona 500. The whole team knows it, and they want this win. And how about that? All 4 of their cars finished that stage in the top 5. As far as Kyle Larson, he is so happy with this race car. They didn't make any adjustments there, just 4 tires, but he's been happy all week long. So keep your eye on Kyle Larson, guys.
Thanks, Jamie. Number of cars coming in to top off, and penalties. Kyle Busch had a safety violation on his stop. You're only allowed 5 men over the wall, and a man behind the wall fell over the wall trying to catch a tire, so he'll restart out back. John Hunter Nemechek's team was over the wall too soon.
I agree with you, Jamie. Keep an eye on Kyle Busch. Needed that track position. Didn't work out with Blaney so much and all those guys that were back there with him. But he's a guy in a backup car. Started at the back. Now we're reestablished. We're back on stage 2 here, and Kyle Busch is at the front. Can't take it away from these Hendrick cars, though. They've been strong. They've been kind of quiet strong, Kevin. We've been keeping an eye on that 5 car. But, boy, are they at the front.
Well, we saw them work together there at the end of that stage, and we've said for a couple days that Kyle Larson's been a great pusher, so it's no surprise that he's up there.
The new Toyota Camry XSE leading the field here at Daytona. Stage 1 complete. We roll into stage 2. And we will restart with 34 cars on the lead lap. Here are the points earned in stage number 1. Chase Elliott getting the stage win. Jimmy Johnson 2 laps down, long pit stop with the hood up. He's rolling back out now. Micah McDowell 3 laps down after repairs, and Austin Dillon with mechanical issues went to the garage, came back 53 laps down.
We're seeing your car up front, Hot Rod. Look at that.
Josh
it is a little
Berry.
bit weird.
Front row with Kyle Larson. Big crowd on hand for the 500 and the 300-mile Xfinity race that will follow tonight. Back under green, stage 2.
Here. Just right here. Here comes the 11 to hook back up to you. Up a half behind you.
That's Josh Berry's spotter, Eddie DeHaan. 16 spotter changes for 2024. A lot of movement there. Eddie DeHaan from Chase Elliott to Josh Berry.
Yeah, Eddie DeHaan has a lot of experience with being on Chase Elliott's radio for a number of years and now on Josh Berry's radio. The reason Josh Berry is up in the front is because of that 4-tire pit stop that they made under green. They only had to do fuel under caution, and now they are up in the front of the pack.
Same for Todd Gilliland in that red and black 38. Second car back on the outside. Same strategy as Berry.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on Todd Gilliland there. He is just, as we ride on board with Denny Hamlin, Todd Gilliland's on the outside in the 38 car right there. Always does a great job, I think, on these super speedways and finding something that makes it happen to get to the front. And here comes that third line, Clint.
Huge run on the outside, 3 wide. I was trying to get it out of you. How about Joey Logano off the bumper of Chase Briscoe in that 14 car? We are going to the front and doing it in a hurry.
And right with them is the 51 of Justin Haley, who finished 10th in the clash. That's the 51. Haley said, that gave us a lot of hope coming to Daytona. Hey, we beat teams that have more employees and more square footage in their gift shop than we have in our race shop.
And he's another one that's done a great job on the super speedways. Has won here at Daytona in the Cup Series before, and always seems to find his way to the front, right behind Joey Logano right now.
Like seeing that Joey Logano. We heard you talking about Eddie DeHaan and the chemistry between these drivers and their spotters. Listen to that guy telling you how far is he back, moving back, feeling the energy. All right, here comes
Briscoe on the inside, staying in line with them. Nothing like that being that feeling of being up front and watching in the rearview mirror, those lines form behind you.
So Haley, who has a July race win at Daytona in the 51 for Rick Ware, and down on the bottom, Chase Briscoe in the 14, who is now the senior tenured driver at Stewart-Haas.
Well, he almost needed a tow truck right there because Josh Berry was all over that back bumper, and they got really swirly on the inside line and broke that line up.
A lot of energy in the outside 2 lanes here.
Still mid 3, 1 out front. Let it jump in middle with you. Still 1 out front. Now half out front.
That's Drew Herring, Martin Truex's sponsor, the number 19.
Yeah, and that mistake by Josh Berry and Chase Briscoe on the bottom has just completely demolished the bottom line. You see those guys slip all the way almost to the back of this whole pack here, and really taking 3 lines down to 2, and then 1 line up in the front.
Yeah, all that energy moved to the outside, shuffled them to the back, and away they go. Just trying to establish again. Denny pushing Byron, see if they can get this bottom going back to the front, pointed in the right direction.
Chris Buescher has joined the party, now 3 Fords out front of Kyle Busch's Chevrolet.
Yeah, and here's that replay of Josh Berry on the bottom, and those guys just a little bit off center, and then Josh tried to chase his bumper down there, and it was too late at that particular point.
Look how far it stacked him up behind him. You saw everybody's flames start blowing out of their exhaust. That is everybody lifting, seeing trouble ahead. That was a heads-up move by not only the drivers, but those spotters telling them, checking up in front.
And it just changed the whole dynamic of the whole pack by just the ebb and flow of the way these lines move.
Late afternoon in Daytona Beach. Sun in your rearview mirror down the backstretch, sun in your face entering turn 1. Joey Logano in front of Justin Haley and Chris Buescher.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Credit One Bank. 79 laps complete. Logano, Haley, Buescher, the three Fords out front. Want a coolie made of Ross Chastain's Daytona 500 tires to keep your Busch Light cold and smooth? You could win one, or one of the other 500 prizes Busch Light is giving away. Enter every lap that ends in a 1 on X using hashtag BuschTona500, hashtag sweepstakes. There's Ross in 29th. One big pack, and way in the back of it, having dropped to the back, Denny Hamlin.
You see him to the back, but let me tell you, who is the benefactor of that? Talked about Kyle Busch having that trouble on pit road penalty. He's back to the front. Logano took that thing up. Busch moved, and Priest, by the way, he had to pit at the end. 25 spots Kyle Busch gained, 23 on Priest. Huge gains by them, passing the whole field on the outside with Logano towing that line.
Regan?
Well, Mike Clint just mentioned Ryan Preece and how good he's doing right now. Keep in mind, early in the race, they had to pit early for damage to repair that race car on the very first yellow of the race. They did a nice job of getting it repaired. And Ryan Preece, if you're looking for somebody to pull for, maybe one of the most blue-collar drivers in the field. If he's not in the race car, he is in a race shop working on a car. He loves to work on race cars. Jamie?
You see the 19 on the inside line, third car back. Something to note is that the Toyota Camrys are brand new this year. They have a new body. Same for the Ford Dark Horse Mustang. And there were a lot of questions how they would run in the draft, how they would feel. Well, Truex very happy with it. More stability in his race car. He can push better. He can be pushed better. He's running in the top 10 right now. Martin Truex Jr., one of those guys that's never gotten the job done here at Daytona or any super speedway track, Mike.
Thanks, Jamie. There he is behind Todd Gilliland in the 38 and Bubba Wallace in the 23 behind that Ford. 3 Toyotas in line.
Well, you see Bubba Wallace down there on the bottom pushing the 38 of Todd Gilliland, and what they need is the third place car, Martin Truex Jr., to stay as close as possible. Bubba gave Todd a huge push down the back straightaway, and you see the flames come out of Martin Truex's pipes, and that's what you don't want at the end of the straightaway. You want to do that as close as you can to the exit of the corner so you get the whole straightaway to push them down. So those guys on the bottom have to work on their gaps a little bit, but that becomes difficult because of the amount of cars that are on the inside line. There's just not that many.
I'm glad you said that, Kevin, and I think that was a perfect example of how those lines work. I always try to explain this as a chain. When all the links are tight, the chain works. As soon as you get a slack in the chain, it's just like a slinky, and the overall performance of that line goes downhill.
Yeah, and you see those guys as they go through the corners, they go up the racetrack to try to side draft and slow that outside line down. So you'll notice that going into 1 and 2 here, that inside lane will probably go up the racetrack. Well, they didn't get as good a push that time, but they've been going up the racetrack to try to slow that outside lane down. So you see them up there again. And that's why they're not on the yellow line. They want to stay up as far as possible to try to shove that air on the spoilers of the guys in the outside lane.
Also creates that slack in the chain, if you will, that I'm talking about, and it accordions that line. When they go up and pull that side draft off, they get slowed down, and then they get a push. It pushes them back up. You can't get any continuity with your line.
The next stage break comes at lap 130. Larry, too soon to be thinking about fuel mileage in this second stage?
Mike, you read my mind. We went back racing at lap 70, which means if they want to run it long, which I think most people will unless they decide to come a little earlier, they'll go to about lap 110 to lap 115. That's somewhere around 15 to 20 to go in this stage.
Well, when that stage ends, stay tuned for an epic Dude Perfect race made possible by the all-new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra.
Bubba Wallace is doing just a fantastic job on that bottom lane, keeping Todd Gilliland going forward.
This is that strength that we saw in the duels with the Toyotas and in practice afterwards, Kevin. We saw them being able to push harder than most other brands, and that's exactly what you see with Bubba Wallace being able to do that. See those hood flaps pushing. When those things fly up, just like Larry told us at the top of the show, that means that baby's pushing hard.
21 of 65 complete in stage 2 of the 65th Daytona 500. A little gyro cam action. The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Bundle auto and home and save. And by Toyota. Let's go places. 88 laps complete as we close in on halfway. There's Joey Logano leading from the Goodyear blimp. Goodyear powering every lap, every mile, and every victory on the road ahead. Goodyear, more driven.
I'm seeing Bubba. I think he's wanting down in front of Gillen. Look if this bottom lane comes up. See if he takes that bottom line and see if he can pull it to the lead.
Well, Joey Logano has commanded this second stage. The pole winner for the Daytona 500, the fastest qualifier, has not won the race since Dale Jarrett did it when Joey Logano was 9 years old.
He's
2000.
He's going to stay in line there.
Thanks for making
huge
us
shove by Truex, pushing Gillen way up, but there's that slack in the chain. Watch, he'll have to lift, catch back up, big shot, slows the lane down, backs him up, start the motion all over again.
Yeah, and the problem is they don't have the timing down for the third place car to keep that line moving forward. You see Bubba fall back from Justin Haley in the 51 car there. And it just slows that line down when they create those big gaps, pulls them backwards.
You saw when Bubba moved up to that outside how he drove off. I think if they can get...
But this is how you want to do it, Clint. You see how Martin connected right off the corner?
Oh, I see it, but I think they're wanting this Gilliland out of the way. If they can get Gilliland out of the way and line up these Toyotas on the bottom, I hate to say it, I think they're going to go to the front and be strong. We know these Toyotas are fast. We've seen it all week long.
Well, they're maintaining down there, and there's only 6 cars.
They just can't get them lined up.
Joey Logano's pole run the other night was the first pole for Roger Penske in the Daytona 500. He's been competing here since the 70s, but look at what Team Penske has done since last May when they won the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 and the NASCAR Cup Championship for Chevy and Ford, and then for Porsche won the Rolex 24 Hours here a couple of weeks ago at Daytona. And then Logano's Ford gives the captain his first ever Daytona 500 pole. Michael McDowell with electrical troubles has now gone 4 and about to be 5 laps down. The outside pole sitter. NASCAR is going back to Chicago. A 4th of July festival, music, entertainment, and racing throughout Grant Park. Headlined by Keith Urban, Chainsmokers, the Black Keys, and Lauren Elena, July 6 and 7. For tickets and experiences, visit NASCARChicago.com.
Well, we see Todd Gilliland slid up in front of the other 2 Fords. First, the second one of Joey Logano there, but now Todd Gilliland is the leader on that outside line and left only 5 cars in the bottom.
Well, I think that's what Truex wanted. He's got a teammate, an ally, if you will, and Reddick behind him. Let's see if those 2 Toyotas can do good. But Logano pushing on that Gilliland on the outside is going to help that line big time.
.34 cars on the lead lap. Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time champion, now 3 laps down. Josh?
Well, the day started with so much promise for the 84 of Jimmy Johnson after racing his way into the Daytona 500. Unfortunately involved in that wreck early in the race. So after that last pit stop, he started complaining about a steering issue after coming out just not able to catch up to the draft. The most important thing for Jimmy now as a part owner of Legacy Motor Club, he told me earlier, is just about getting data, about being out there so that he can relay whatever information he's able to pick onto to the rest of the team in hopes that it can uplift the team and get them where they need to be, guys.
Well, you can see his steering wheel right there, the markers on the top. That should be clear over to the left side, indicating wheel straight up on your pits. That wheel's way off. A lot of toe damage on the front of that car.
Johnson carrying the Creed Tour onboard camera today. Boy, Martin Truex just can't get that low line up to the front, can he?
Well, there's just not as much surge. You've got that 2nd place car and the 3rd place car, but there's just not as much energy behind those 4th and 5th place cars like there is in that outside line to rebound.
And just as I say that, there he goes.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see him cycle up there. Well, we see somebody else drop down out of the pack. So
what you're seeing is a good old-fashioned drag race by 2 manufacturers. Got them Toyotas lined up on the inside, the Dark Horse Mustangs on the outside. I like it. I dig it.
Almost halfway in stage number 2 of the Daytona 500. Martin Truex Jr. now out front. 98 laps complete in Daytona. Join Kevin Harvick every Tuesday and Thursday as he gives his opinion on top NASCAR storylines and brings big names in sports and entertainment to the racing world on Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour podcast presented by NASCAR on Fox.
And Mike, I've got more to announce. We have a sponsor for our show with Samsung Galaxy joining us as our presenting sponsor. So that's going to be a lot of fun to talk about everything that we've had happen on the weekend, everything leading into the next week, and maybe do some cool interviews. So I'm looking forward to that with Caitlin Vincey and Mama Smith.
Try your hat on for size, boys. We got our first sponsor.
That's right.
Before we ever even have a show, that's not bad, Kevin. Not bad at all.
Joey Logano's 22 has been the strongest Ford all day, but the dynamic has changed once Todd Gilliland pulled up to the outside lane in front of Logano.
Best movements to be next to each other. Time to go back to the bottom. What's he doing? We had control.
I don't know if you have a chat down there, but all I got is I'm not driving.
On, Eddie.
Yeah, and the chat that he's talking about is how the manufacturers and all the crew chiefs communicate with each other on the pit box and everywhere else that they're sitting. So Joey's talking about Todd Gilliland. He was in the bottom lane, and he felt like they could control how much fuel they were saving at a particular time by controlling the speed of the two lanes. And now Martin Truex Jr. is the leader of the bottom lane. But, you know, I think in Joey's case, it should be easier for him to save fuel where he's at, but he's just under the control of Todd Gilliland. So he just likes control of the race, and he likes the view at the front of the line.
And Todd Gilliland's been around racing his entire life. His grandfather, Butch, was a West Coast champ, and his dad, David, led 18 laps in the 2007 Daytona 500 that Kevin Harvick won. Regan.
Well, Mike, just to add to what Kevin was saying about Todd Gilliland moving up to the top, part of the problem for Todd Gilliland was they were worried they were going to get shucked out by the Toyotas and put 3 wide. They didn't want that to happen, to lose the track position, so they wanted to get up thinking that that would be the better place for them to be on the racetrack. And what a job he is doing right now leading the Daytona 500. The team told me earlier they expect him to be a difference maker this year. I'd say that's a good way to start.
And he has to protect himself, and that's what they thought they needed to do to not wind up at the back of the pack. So they did what they thought was right for them as a team to put themselves in a position. And one thing about Todd Gilliland is every time I'm around him and we talk about stuff like that, I feel old because I raced against Todd, his dad, and his grandpa.
All right.
3 generations.
3 generations.
Well, that does make you old.
Thanks, Clint.
Jamie?
Well, talking about Martin Truex Jr. coming up on the inside there, I talked to his spotter this morning, Drew Herring, and he said this is a very unique place. Usually spotters will stand wherever they want right up there on top of these racetracks on the roof. He said here, because we have to communicate so quickly, we need to stand next to our teammates. So they're organized by team and by organization. So quicker communication is what it's all about.
20 years of trying for Martin Truex to win the Daytona 500. In 2016, he finished second by inches in the closest ever finish here.
That's the thing, you know, I hear you 20 years of trying, but you got to listen to the second part of that equation. He lost this race by mere inches. I mean, heartbreaker close. He can get the job done, and I think he's got the hot rod to get the job done this time.
There's the view from his Bass Pro Shops camera today. He is one of 6 active NASCAR Cup championships, still trying to win their first Daytona 500.
That's a pretty stout list of Cup champs there that haven't won this race. We don't know what's going to happen as we cycle through this race, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of them won.
I'm ready.
Surprise me if they didn't.
Well, I'm ready. We've had 3 straight years of outlier winners. Drivers who had never won before, haven't won since, and have trouble finishing in the top 30 in points. I think I'm ready for a driver with a championship in his pocket to go to victory lane today.
You can be ready all you want. This whole racetrack at Daytona ain't ready. There ain't nobody getting it. I think this place decides who wins. It's a hard one to get done. 20 years we watched Earnhardt drive, finally getting it done.
It's such a special race, and when you talk about how hard that it is to win here because of the fact that everybody knows that they have an opportunity to have 3 months to work on their car and do everything that they need to do. They bring their best prepared car all year. And for a lot of the smaller teams that have those upset wins, they are able to put a car on a racetrack that can compete, and they know it.
Still 2 by 2. Truex's Toyota, Gilliland's Ford. Just past halfway in the Daytona 500 on Fox. The sun setting in Daytona as they come off turn 4 to complete 108 of 200 laps. Todd Gilliland and Joey Logano now have gone to the bottom. Bubba Wallace up to the outside to take the lead in this Daytona 500. Toyota, Chevy, and then 5 Fords. Now pit stops will be coming up soon. Josh?
Yeah, and one of those drivers that's going to come in for a pit stop very soon is Josh Berry in the 4. And as Kevin knows up in the booth, this is a new era for that team. And then crew chief Rodney Childers told me that they worked in the offseason doing some late model races together just to establish a relationship so they weren't starting at ground zero when the season started. He said that was super important for them so they felt comfortable heading into the season and had better communication streamlined. Regan?
Well, Josh, what a great run back to the front yet again today for Kyle Busch as he leads this race right now, up 28 positions since the restart. A little surprising, too, because Kyle does not love that race car as of right now. Said it shoves the nose when he turns the wheel too much, meaning it's tight. It wants to go up the racetrack, but you wouldn't notice that based on him up front. Mike?
Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece up in front of Todd Gilliland, Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano. A lot of jostling side to side. Whoa.
A lot of hands out right there. Ryan Preece, he's wanting down. I think they're wanting to pit. He's trying to get down, got his hand out the window. Bubba Wallace, no can do.
Well, we saw the 38, the 22, and the 23 of Bubba Wallace and 8 of Kyle Busch. Everybody worked themselves down a couple laps ago, anticipating coming to pit road.
Not this lap.
This time.
Well, and that's the reason I make that point is because Ryan Blaney and Ryan Preece in the 41 and the 12 in the outside lane, there's really nowhere for them to go right now unless somebody makes a hole. And they know it's coming up, so they got to get themselves in position without losing a bunch of spots, if possible.
And that's where trouble strikes. We've seen it time and time again. They try to get down anyway, cross paths, and get spun out, getting on a pit road. Very tricky, very tight quarters.
And the further that this goes and the closer that it gets, that gets harder and harder to do.
All right, Kyle Busch and Bubba Wallace with a handout. And Preece drops in on the bottom and takes the lead. The Berlin, Connecticut former modified champ.
Here they come.
And here he comes. Going to drag a big pack with him. This will be half the field. Down to pit road speed at the yellow line. Twenty cars come in, and around goes one of them as John Hunter Nemechek tried to force the issue on Josh Berry.
Josh Berry needed to get down. Hunter was already there, turned him right around.
That's okay. They'll fuel it facing the other way. As long as he's in his pit box, it's a legal stop.
Well, we always talk about how everything is so planned and you want this to be structured and organized, and the next thing you know, you come on the pit road, there's cars crossing over each other's paths trying to get to pit road, and we have wrecks.
Another pack will come this time, perhaps. Ryan Preece, too fast entering pit road. He came in as the leader, couldn't get it slowed down quick enough. He'll have to do a drive-through penalty at pit road speed. We listened in on Ryan Blaney.
Got to get down. What do you think I'm trying to do? Yeah, well, I'm just telling you what we're trying to do. I'm not either. We're good on fuel. We just need to make sure we pit with friends here, okay?
One car coming this time. That'll be Preece to serve his penalty.
Well, and sometimes waiting a little bit longer to pit allows you to just keep maintaining running good lap times. We see this back group that has already pitted. We heard Ryan Blaney frustrated because, like I said earlier, the more laps that go by, the more frustration and urgency to get down.
Anthony Alfredo comes in to make his stop by himself.
Flip side of that is it's really not a manufacturer pit stop here. That was literally half the field came in, half the field stayed out. I think Ryan Blaney's just fine where he's at.
Well, and sometimes you just say, the heck with it. I'm coming with everybody else because they're all coming in, and you just have to make that call as a driver sometimes.
I watched you do that last year, Kevin. Everybody was having trouble coming on. You said, you know what? I'm going to go with a smaller group this time.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to explain it on Monday morning.
So on the
Tuesday.
map at the top, that's car number 8, Kyle Busch, with that group of cars leading the race and some of them coming to pit road. The group of cars led by the 22, mostly Fords, that were first to stop. Things a little more orderly here, as they can be when you only have 8 cars coming in at
a
one
little
time.
bit of a smaller group, so it allows those guys to be a little more orderly because there's more room to move around.
All of these are fuel only. And that pack will pretty much leave as a group, with the exception of Zane Smith's car. Now Kyle Larson is the race leader, with Blaney, Elliott, and remember when we did the starting grid and I said, who's your sleeper pick? How about Corey LaJoie? There he is with that group in the 7.
And here that group comes down pit road.
8 cars to take fuel under green. Mostly Chevys, but for Austin Cindric and Ryan Blaney in Fords.
Kevin, these green flag pit stops are all about efficiencies. Coming on pit road, coming off the pit road together. Who can do it best?
Well, we saw the first 2 groups merge, and the 3rd group is going to merge right in the middle of turns 1 and 2 as the lead pack of what is the 8 car of Kyle Busch coming down to these guys. And as we go to the backstretch here, it's going to be interesting.
I just saw a teammate right there. You saw Logano coming up on the outside. That 3 car, Austin Dillon, pulled up and made a block. Kyle Busch is in the lead of that thing. 3 car, several laps down, pulled up and made a block. That's teamwork right there.
Well, this is what you want. There you go. Austin Cindric pull up. That's his job. His job is to pull up and try to disrupt that line as much as possible to slow everything down. Joey Logano's coming behind Austin Cindric. He gets behind his teammate. Kyle Busch is all messed up because William Byron is up the racetrack and they have slowed the whole pack down, and now they're right in the middle of it towards the front.
That all started with Austin Dillon moving up and making that block on Logano. Collected all of those. They were going to blow by all of them on the outside.
So now the 8, Kyle Busch, looks to the high side, trying to catch the race leader, who is Kyle Larson, with his Hendrick teammate Chase Elliott in tow.
That's like saying, hey, we're going to go down the highway, and it's that guy that's sitting in the slow lane like Boyer. He's just sitting there. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Pull over, screw everything up as much as you can, and they wound up blocking him really, really well. But I know that seems like a strange strategy to pull up into a high-speed car that's going way faster than you.
It's not strange. It's a bold strategy, but everything's back under control now. I think all is well.
Kyle Larson was 19th prior to the green flag pit stop cycle. He comes out with the lead. 80 laps to go in Daytona. Spring football just around the corner, and it hits a whole new level when the USFL and XFL come together to unleash the United Football League. March 30th on Fox, and this spring on ABC, ESPN, FS1, and Fox. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a big part of the UFL. The Stallions take on the Renegades. The two former league champions will come together in the opener.
Well, no matter who blocked who or what the time was getting on or off pit road, we got a pack. And these guys are pushing and shoving and doing, they're way more aggressive than they have been earlier in the race.
Kyle Busch leading the top, Austin Cindric leading the bottom. Kyle Larson was leading a third lane on the bottom, further back, dropped in line.
I'm glad you said that, Mike. That bottom line, that's 2 for 2. It does not prevail. As soon as they get stacked up on the outside, those outside lines blow their doors off.
Well, typically you don't want somebody on your right rear because the air just slows you down from the other cars as it bounces off that spoiler.
Kyle Busch has been in 19 Daytona 500s. This is his 20th try. He spent the 2015 Daytona 500 in a hospital bed after a crash in the Saturday race. In 2023, at the end of 500 miles, Kyle Busch was the race leader. But we went into overtime, and it was not to be.
He takes Richard Childress back to victory lane to Daytona. I don't know if this play's ready for a party like that, Kevin.
Well, there's not many people in that infield that know the importance and experience as many things as Richard Childress has at this particular racetrack and in NASCAR racing in general.
Kyle Busch has now led 337 laps in the 500, more than any other driver who has not been to victory lane.
We had him on the pre-race yesterday, and you could, oh wow, big hit by William Byron.
That hit came all the way from Allmendinger in the 16.
A lot of energy behind him, but you could just feel it, Kevin, when he was talking to us. The sense of urgency for Kyle Busch in winning this race, it's very, very apparent.
I interviewed Kyle Busch leading into the Daytona 500 and sat down with him, and I couldn't believe how relaxed. Maybe he was just trying to be nice because he knew it was my first interview, but he was so close to winning the Daytona 500. He's won everything else in the sport. You know, I think having a year under his belt at Richard Childress Racing and knowing how that whole operation works, I think he understands the significance of him wanting to win the race, but he understands the significance and what it means to Richard Childress Racing to come down here and just as a privilege to race in general. Richard makes it very aware that we are going to put as much effort as possible into winning Daytona.
Austin Cindric, who won this race 2 years ago, Ryan Blaney with him. Cindric's dad, Tim, general manager at Team Penske, going into the Indy Hall of Fame this year for everything he's done at the Brickyard. Jamie.
Austin Cindric, just 25 years old, won this race in his first attempt at it 2 years ago. He studies more than any other driver I have ever seen, especially when it comes to this style of racing, and it's showing right here, running up front. And Mike, last year was a year he wants to forget. One top 5. Can you imagine if he could pull it off and win this first race of the year? What a shot in the arm for this team.
One thing I've noticed here, Clinton, I'll draw this out as we go through the corner right here, but as we enter turn 1 with this pack, the space between these two cars has become a lot closer. The space on the bottom of this racetrack, there's a lot of track down there on the bottom, and those guys know that side draft is keeping those guys slowed down up top.
And a tough break for Justin Haley. He is pitting by himself with fuel pressure problems. The 51's had a great run here at Daytona today, spent a lot of laps in the top 3, but he is out of fuel and coasts into his pit stall. You know, he'll go at least a lap down.
Last 3 or 4 years we've been down here to Daytona. We've been to Talladega. We've watched this package, right? The Super Speedway package, Kevin. Ford has had a dominant car when we talk about super speedways. With them having a new body, Toyota having a new body, I think Ford adjusted a little bit for the mile and a half, some of the downforce packages. It has really evened this pack up when we talk about Daytona. All 3 manufacturers very even.
Who just dropped to the bottom? Christopher Bell made a 3rd lane on the bottom, and he's got some help. Watch that yellow Camry trying to get to the front.
4 to go, it's time.
With Ricky Stenhouse, last year's 500 winner, right with him.
Well, they're going to need more cars down there, and the problem is they're going to catch these cars that are a little bit slower coming up to them, and that's usually when it creates problems, especially if they're 3 wide.
But those 3 cars in a line, they've got a lot of energy already built up, momentum. I think that's a decent move by Bell. He saw that coming. Here comes an opportunity. Let's use that air off those cars, see if we can get to the front, maybe move up before we catch them.
They're going to catch Ty Gibbs, Josh Berry, and Ryan Preece here.
Yeah, the problem is if they do catch them, though, I don't know that they're going to go anywhere. And now you see the cars behind Ricky Stenhouse get up into that second lane because they're anticipating those guys being in the way and not being able to go 4 wide. And that's going to take Christopher Bell and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. back. There's just nowhere to go.
Went for it. He didn't have the track position at the end of the stage. I like it. Got to try. You see, I think you saw Larson right there dip down. He's going.
He is. Kyle Larson on the bottom by himself. Coming to 2 to go in stage 2. Lapped cars well to the inside, or about to be lapped cars.
Those teammates are holding strong in that middle. Big shot by Blaney. Giving Cindric a shove. Byron on that outside, pushing Busch.
Those 3 cars just getting lapped all had some pit road issues, with Berry getting turned around. And that's why they're now going a lap down.
Gosh, this side by side with the bottom lane moving so close to the outside lane, they're obviously in a position where they feel like it's helping them keep up and keep the momentum, but it keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and it's going to cause a problem at some point.
And that point is off the corner. When you get tight, you lose the nose off that car in front of you. There's no room for error. You're going to be up in the side of that car. Seen it time and time again here on the exit of the corners.
Daniel Suarez, the Freeway Insurance cam, coming up into play here. He is 5th as they have half a lap to go to complete stage 2.
Well, you see Daniel Suarez right here with this throttle percentage. What he's doing right there is checking up so he doesn't run into the back of the car in front of him, and that's the kind of momentum that they have right now, able to just run up there and ram that car if he didn't let off the throttle.
Battle for the stage win, battle to be the first car 1 lap down and get the free pass. That's Preece versus Gibbs as Cindric takes him into turn 3. Blaney to the bottom. He said he wasn't going to help his teammates. He didn't. He dropped to the bottom to try to win stage 2.
Great move by Cindric to move up before Busch got to his outside and get caught in the middle. That was a heads-up move by Cindric.
Champion Ryan Blaney wins stage 2 from Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Busch, and Tyler Reddick. It is Blaney's 3rd stage win in the Daytona 500. So buckle up and stay right here as it's time for a one-of-a-kind dude perfect battle on the racetrack, featuring epic footage captured on the all-new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Nightfall in Daytona at the end of stage 2. Here's our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Powering every mile and every moment on NASCAR's road to victory. Goodyear, more driven. We're at the end of stage 2, and Busch Light is still giving away prizes. Enter for a chance to win a getaway to North Carolina for a Trackhouse Motorplex racing experience and other big prizes during every lap that ends in a 1. Follow @BuschBeer on X to learn more.
So you can drive? You can drive, Clint? Like you can enter the contest and win the go-kart race?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay. Well, a couple of real close ones at the end of stage 2. First was the Austin Cindric block and the Ryan Blaney move for the lead. Also was the finish for first car on the lead lap at the end of the stage, and that is scored as Ty Gibbs over Ryan Preece and Josh Berry. So Gibbs will get the free pass. Right here, there's the Monster Energy can.
Blaney moved to the lead to take that stage win. I saw that coming, but I really thought Cindric was in trouble, was going to get stuck in the middle there. Quick move up, was a heads-up move. Very, very close block, but it saved his day to get some stage points.
Well, like you said, we heard Ryan Blaney frustrated earlier in the run there and saying he was not going to hang with his teammates. Well, he definitely didn't hang with his teammate. He went and took that momentum and went right by him.
Also true.
All right, this is the end of stage 2. There are no more planned caution flags for the rest of the race, and we've had only 3 of them. The incident at lap 6, where John Hunter Nemechek got into the side of Harrison Burton, knocking Burton and Carson Hocevar and Kaz Grala out of the race. It also sent Austin Dillon to the garage for repairs and damaged the car of Jimmy Johnson. The only other caution flags have been for the stage breaks. Means the Buddy Baker's all-time Daytona 500 record average speed of 177 miles an hour is in no jeopardy today. All right, the lead lap cars head for pit road. Let's begin with Josh.
We'll begin with the 99 of Daniel Suarez. Quietly found his way into the top 5. His biggest complaint needs more rear security. They're going to go 4 tires and a dot of fuel here. Regan?
Kyle Busch in the 8 car complaining about tight earlier, but the sun has gone down and that has helped him. That car's gotten better for him. A little bit too darty in a straight line, meaning it moves around just a little bit too much for him. The 12 of Ryan Blaney, he's a little tight right now as the track continues to change. Jamie?
Austin Cindric in the 2 led 10 laps there, says he needs nothing inside the race car. He's happy. 4 tires waited on fuel. This could be the last time they take tires today.
Cindric, Blaney, Suarez coming off pit road. Ryan Blaney, defending series champ and stage 2 winner in the Daytona 500. You're looking at Kyle Busch trying to limp onto pit road without losing his left front wheel, which has no retaining nut attached. Let's show you the pit stop and what led to this.
You see him, waved his hands, stop, stop, stop. Unfortunately, did not get that lug nut on.
Yeah, and that's a tough spot. That's a tough spot for the jack man because he's thinking fast, 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 but his responsibility is to make sure that both those wheel nuts are on.
But damage control, they got right on the radio to Kyle, told him, watch your speed, stay down, stay on the apron, keep that left front on at all cost to get back around here to pit road and get it replaced.
Which is a great job by Kyle Busch to drive that thing around 2.5 miles and keep that left front tire somehow, some way back on that vehicle.
So for the driver, when Josh Sobecki drops the jack, is that his signal to go?
100%. When that jack drops, you're dropping the clutch and flooring it and doing everything you can do to get out of the pit stall. So that responsibility is definitely on the jack guy when he drops the jack. And there's really, Kyle's looking in his mirror and he's got all kinds of things going on trying to make sure he doesn't hit anybody coming out of his pit box.
But unfortunately, that jack guy was looking at that left rear. He wasn't looking at the left front.
All right, fellas, assume the position. It's time for the Credit One Bank ones to watch. Clint, over here, Clint. Which manufacturer are you watching?
Which manufacturer? All of them. I just said before we went to break, man, all three of them are dead even. But if I had to pick one right now, I like what I see with Logano. I saw Cindric's move there. I'm going to stay with Ford.
Yeah, well, I still think that Toyota is in the game. And like you said, there's a lot more of them in the game because of the fact that they can do all the things that the Fords and Chevy have done. But I still think that there's a lot to this whole thing to play out, Mike.
Well, in terms of Chevrolet, Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, the Kyle and Kyle show, they have been the class of the field for Chevrolet, though Chase Elliott was also able to run up front. But rule one of the Daytona 500 is don't beat yourself. And one of that trio is going to be starting in the back. So you're saying
Not
it's anybody's game.
They're not out of it yet. I think all three of these manufacturers are equally matched. I love what I'm seeing out of this Daytona 500 so far.
And this is going to come down to exactly what we've seen. Who makes the least amount of mistakes and can position themselves in the front of the pack with the track position after they make their pit stop. And then at the end, really everything just goes crazy.
The other thing that we've seen so far is this bottom line. They're capable of getting 3 wide, and as soon as they do, that bottom line isn't the line somehow. Usually it's the one, it's the safest bet, right? It's safest play if you're in that car. Not so much today. Both times that bottom line is dissolved.
So 17 of the lead lap cars made their pit stop and lined back up. The rest of the lead lap, which is 14 more cars, made their pit stop and just came back in to top off for fuel, expecting a long green flag run.
Well, and you want to put yourself in position to put the least amount of fuel in as possible. Here we go.
Daniel Suarez had equipment interference on his stop, so has to start at the back.
Haven't seen him all day, but look at that. Ricky Stenhouse, last year's winner of the Daytona 500. He's found his way to the front, folks.
And on these styles of track, he typically does. He's won several races on super speedways, obviously winning the Daytona 500 last year. And here we go with the pushing and shoving at the front.
Teammates working together for a while, at least here. Cindric and Blaney outside.
The trust factor of that relationship's a little bit rocky, Kevin.
Well, I think as you get towards the end of those stages, it gets a little bit looser, but we heard loud and clear how that was going to work out from the 12C.
3 wide, 1 car up, almost brushed the wall in the back. That was David Reagan with the 11. Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, you see Logano, just like he did at the start of that last stage, already marching to that outside line. Here he comes, blocked by Chastain this time.
Up the middle, the 7, Corey LaJoie. He's got help from Christopher Bell and more. And up comes Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick to hold back that middle line.
And look at the bottom line going away again, just like we saw last time.
Well, when that 23 car pulled up, when a front car pulls up like that, it immediately just pulls the momentum back in that bottom lane. And as we've seen, that middle and top lane seems to be where you want to be as the race kind of gets through these first few laps of the restart.
You can see him right there in the middle of that middle lane. Kyle Busch right back to the front, marching forward. Pretty amazing. Got a fast hot rod.
Kyle Larson right in the middle of all that, right behind Kyle Busch. And behind them, Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin coasting around in 19th. I say coasting because we've not seen Hamlin make a charge to the front all day, all evening. He's been content to ride out back.
Well, he told us that yesterday, Clint. He said, "I'm not worried about points. I want to win the Daytona 500." He's very determined in doing what he needs to do to put himself in position to win the race at the end. And he told us that he wasn't going to worry about it in the beginning.
Absolutely. According to plan so far, Denny Hamlin.
A.J. Allmendinger, who served a pit road penalty earlier, has worked his way back to where now he is the lead car on the inside in 6th place. And that just changed as Tyler Reddick dropped to the bottom. Here's the Toyota cam for Christopher Bell, right up behind Corey LaJoie. Now, thanks to Toyota, we're going to stay right here for a run of commercial-free racing from Daytona. We'll go Toyota all out.
On board with Christopher Bell here in the middle, doing everything he can do to make sure he can hold his car straight. And Tyler Reddick leading the middle line in that nasty beast Toyota Camry up in the front, middle lane.
You got one pushing that outside lane too. See Bubba Wallace pushing the outside, all 3 lanes full of Toyotas.
Yep, Truex on the bottom, second car back. So all those Toyotas positioned from 14th forward, 5 of them not lined up together, but it seems like kind of managing things mid-pack.
Kevin, you've told me moving into Daytona, you like the shape of the Toyota nose that they've done a good job of being able to enable these drivers to push the way they are today.
Well, I don't know the specifics of exactly what they want to design on the car. And as we see Martin Truex pull up to go around for the lead there, all the way to the top lane in front of the 45 car of Tyler Reddick. So that allowed a lot of things to change in the pack, but it lined him up with 2 Toyotas in the top lane.
A little bit slow moving up in front of Reddick, kind of slowed that bottled the middle lane up. But got themselves in trouble.
There are Reddick and Bell, who both won their dual races Thursday night by leading only the last lap. Now, with 8 full-time Cup Series teams, Toyota and TRD have had an unprecedented offseason. Here's more.
With this new next-gen car, we started a very intentional search for the right partner. During that search, the phone rang, and it was actually Jimmy Johnson.
I have watched Toyota work for many years as a competitor and have had a great deal of respect for them. And now to be in the family, we can really operate at a Tier 1 level.
It's a big step going from 6 to 8, and that gives us more tools to work with.
That gives Toyota 9 cars in the Daytona 500, including Jimmy Johnson. 8 full-time cars in the series, the most they've ever had.
Well, I tell you what, during that segment, we saw Martin Truex pull up to the outside lane and kind of go slow across the middle lane and up to the top lane, and it just allowed the bottom lane to just pull right back in front of the race, in front of the pack, and slow that middle and top lane down.
Sure did. And how about Corey LaJoie holding tight on that outside line? The Chili's car, man, he's had a great spot this week. Saw him and his new opportunity at Spire Motorsports moving outside, inside. Can he keep him behind him?
Now look at that bottom lane up front. A.J. Allmendinger spent 17 laps a lap down, but you never give up here. You get back into position. And right with him are David Reagan and Daniel Hemrick, who earlier were up front, then got shuffled back to the tail end of the lead lap, and here they are at the lead. Wow. Here's your Progressive race summary at 144 laps, closing in on 50 to go. 15 leaders, 31 lead changes, and that's how many cars are on the lead lap. Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney won the 2 stages.
Well, we saw some really tight moves there. We saw Denny Hamlin move up, and we saw Corey LaJoie in the 7 car make a really tight squeeze there to get in front of Christopher Bell.
And he may get the lead.
Masterful class by Denny Hamlin, up 19 spots from the back, meeting his teammates up front. He threw that car on his back and made some holes, made some moves, and got himself. You see him leading that middle of the lane.
But the interesting thing,
impressive.
the interesting thing, he drove up there, but the interesting thing is when they change lanes, how much it slows the lane down that they're going into.
Well, he told us that was the other thing, aggressive. That is his new approach. He said, forget them. I'm going to the front, and I'm going to do it by myself. I'm taking no prisoners.
Here comes Hamlin's number 11 with his former teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch, right with him. It'll be 53 to go when they come back to the start-finish line in what has already been a calamitous Daytona 500. What will happen over the final 50 laps here today? The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Credit One Bank. 50 laps to go next time by. And in 6 of the last 7 Daytona 500s, the eventual winner had not yet led the race by this point. Tonight, that includes Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, among others.
Kevin, when I first came into this sport, I vividly remember you telling me when we were talking about Daytona, when is it time to go? 50 was the number you told me.
Yeah, and we're seeing 50 as the time to go for a lot of these guys because the intensity level has picked up as we've gotten towards the end. That looked like Denny Hamlin almost brushed the wall right there off of turn 2.
Almost. Corey LaJoie, the leader. Third generation racer. His granddad, a modified champ. His dad, two-time Busch Series champ, and now racing safety advocate and seat builder Randy LaJoie. And here's Corey. Half of his 8 top 10 finishes in the Cup Series have come here at Daytona. Regan.
Well, Mike, Corey LaJoie having a great night up front right now. Something he told me earlier today, though, that this team would have to focus on as they continue to grow this year is being able to handle the pressure of being up front. Not only him as a driver, but the pit crew when it comes down to big moment situations. Well, if he can come in the lead of the Daytona 500 for his last stop, that is going to be a great lesson for handling that pressure.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a great point. And as we're on the Toyota onboard here with Denny Hamlin, we get a great view of the back of Corey LaJoie's car. But racing in the front and dealing with the things in the front is not how you deal with things in the middle or the back of the pack. Otherwise, those guys, here we go.
Denny's tired of following him.
Yep.
Denny Hamlin trying to lead for the first time tonight.
Going to be right back up in front of him. The block start. Question is, will he stay in front of him on that outside or try to weave back and forth and slow both lanes down?
Well, I think we know what Denny Hamlin wants to do. He wants to be in control. And being at the front is being in control. He can block and do all the things that he wants to do and be in the lane that he's the most comfortable with.
Let's ride along with driver 11.
Well, watch his eyes, because that's really the most important thing that happens here at Daytona. You watch the eyes, you try to gauge the run of the lanes behind you, know when you need to keep your car square. When you see the bottom coming, you'll see him come down, not come down, because that's a choice that you got to make, because you as the driver are the one steering the ship. And if you like the guy pushing behind you, sometimes you just won't even make that move like Denny just did right there. He thinks that inside lane is not going to be the lane to be in. Let's listen to Denny's spotter.
One off of you, bottom tighter.
That's Chris Lambert.
Still half off, 3/4 off, 3/4 off.
That's all that help. Talking about the help behind him.
Off. Both lanes are equal here as far as gap.
As we listen to the spotter riding on board with the Ally on-car cam of Alex Bowman there, you can hear the intensity, not the intensity, but the importance of the spotter and the communications to the driver. You want that spotter to be as calm as possible and do everything that he can to relay all the information about the energy and the lines and everything that's happening.
Toyota out front. Chevys filled the rest of the front four. The highest Ford in the race is now Chris Buescher, back in 8th with Joey Logano. A lot can happen, though, in 46 laps. Want a chance to get in a stock car and drive around Daytona with Ross Chastain? I mean around the Speedway. Busch Lights offering that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and more. Follow @BuschBeer on X to learn more and enter before the end of the race. There's the Busch Light cam.
Well, you see the throttle percentages now, and that's not from saving gas. That's just for where you are in the pack and having to check up from hitting the guy in front of you. You see that bottom lane kind of accordion. Kyle Busch get way out there. Alex Bowman come right back to his bumper, but now he's got a gap. See the flames come out of the pipes right there from him lifting, not wanting to hit him in the tri-oval, because as we've seen, if you bump somebody too hard in the tri-oval where that car is light, it's going to spin out and cause a huge wreck.
Well, and that all started, and you nailed it. You were all over it. Kyle Busch got out too far. Cannot get too far back. It accordions your line. As soon as they get to you, they have to lift, and it stacks them up all the way back through the field. Efficiency of that line goes downhill.
Denny Hamlin out front with 45 to go in Daytona as we take you Fox side by side. Welcome back to the Daytona 500 as they round off turn 4, coming to 41 laps to go. One more pit stop in the offing, and Denny Hamlin, who has 3 500 wins but never a Cup championship, out in front of Kyle Busch, who leads the inside lane. Busch has 2 Cup championships, no 500 wins, 114 Cup victories between the 2 drivers out front here.
Cream's rising to the top. You see Logano pushing Busch down there. You're talking about a 3-time Daytona champion, Hamlin. Bell, he has been so good on these racetracks, won his duel. Love what I see out of LaJoie, hanging tough for those guys.
And Logano's fought his way back up into the front 4 in his Ford. Denny Hamlin has had such success here, but by razor thin margins. He's won 3 of the last 8. 6 drivers have 3 or more Daytona 500 wins, and he won the Clash this year, so he could repeat what happened in 2016. Most among active drivers in those categories.
This Kyle Busch and his 8 car means business. If anybody can give him a fit, it's going to be him. He needs some help to get the job done, but I'm impressed why he's doing this by himself. You see other teammates manufacture help. Kyle Busch has been the only one all day long that can, no matter what kind of adversity you throw at him, he can drive it right back to the front and put it in position, Kevin.
Well, we saw that after his tire didn't come off but wasn't tight, and he drove right back to the front and now is right back where he was before that.
Penalty before that,
yeah.
Same scenario. The other one, Logano, he's been back to the front several times.
Joey Logano's Hunt Brothers Pizza onboard cam. Now we see Kyle Busch go.
Oh, hit the wall.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. He tried to fill that hole. It was really tight. Lost the nose as he crossed the wake of Corey LaJoie there in front. He hit it pretty hard too, guys.
No
bad spot as you're crossing that off of 2.
Let's see
Track
what
flattens out.
Well, for some reason,
the 8.
Yeah, the 8 car of Kyle Busch there on the bottom. For some reason, he wanted to get up into that outside line, and that's a pretty tight hole. And it looks like he just
bad angle, bad spot to do it. The hole tightened up.
I would bet he. Let's see if there's any flames that come out of the pipe. Hard to tell.
All right,
we need to try to get in line here, Randall, or are we good where we're at? Like, what do I need to know?
I mean, we're burning a ton of fuel. We're going to have to stop before everybody else, so, but just let them be.
Well, there it was. He heard what he needed to see, tried to get up, tried to save some fuel. Unfortunately, mistimed hole right there. It got into the wall pretty hard. Let's see if it has enough damage to cause him trouble.
These cars are pretty tough, Clint. They have that composite body that they run on all these cars, and they're pretty durable as long as it doesn't break a toe link or something in the suspension. But I wouldn't think as square as it hit. I think he's probably fine.
Now, Brad Keselowski had been hanging out at the tail end of the lead lap, and unnoticed by us, he has climbed to 6th place. Interesting run toward the front for Brad, who's also trying to win his first Daytona 500. Wendy's always delivers for fans here in Daytona. Clint caught up with DJ Khaled to secure the biggie bag and see what else Wendy's has going on here.
All right, DJ Khaled, Daytona 500, man.
Right.
What do you think about this? Everything's bigger in Daytona.
We going Biggie, we going Wendy's. I'm excited to be here at Daytona 500. I love the energy. Look at the party.
All of our fans can pull right through here in the drive-thru, get their own biggie bag.
You can't play yourself. You got to reward yourself and get yourself a biggie bag and secure that bag. You feel me?
All right, Daytona 500.
Yes.
You feeling it? You like speed? What kind of driver are you?
Well, I used to be a fast driver, but I like watching the fast race cars.
Yeah.
My kids love it. I love it. You never know what's going to happen. Could be right around corner, but that straightaway, you never know who's going to be in the lead. But
You and MJ are buddies, right? Your boys?
yes, Michael Jordan. That's my brother. Yes, absolutely.
So you got some hot rides out on that racetrack. Now, who you pulling for?
I want everybody to win. You know what I'm saying? That's who I roll with.
You heard it.
That's
DJ
right.
Khaled,
I
pulling
love
for everybody,
everybody.
the whole field. All right, folks, DJ Khaled wasn't the only celebrity here. Check out what else happened this weekend.
All right, welcome to the first annual Wendy's Go Biggie Golf Invitational. We've got Trackhouse stars Daniel Suarez and Shane Van Gisbergen. And the biggest thing about today is they get some sweet prizes. So they get the Wendy's Biggie Bag. Yes. They get a Wendy's red jacket. The drivers are walking up to the first hole. Let's see how they do.
Yes. Our amigo Daniel Suarez, he's up first. Clearly, he has his eye on that Biggie Bag prize.
And coming up next, it is Shane. And you know what? I know these two are friends on the track and teammates. Out here, things are heating up.
Whoop, that was all gas and no brake. Congratulations to our amigo Daniel Suarez. He wins the Wendy's Go Biggie Golf Invitational. How you feeling?
I feel great, Jamie. It was a lot of fun.
The Biggie Bag. Woo! Woo! Biggie jacket, my friend, for winning. Look at you.
There's your Biggie Bag. All that food for $5, that's my go-to.
Ooh, that's my ride or die.
Just like you and me. Bag boys. Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
Go Biggie and get all this with the JBC for just $5.
34 laps to go, and Joey Logano, the pole sitter for the 500, along with David Reagan, Brad Keselowski, and Chase Briscoe, have put 4 Fords out in front of the field. There will be one more pit stop. What do we expect if it happens under green? Josh.
We'll start with the 48 of Alex Bowman. About 10 laps ago, he was running inside the top 10. The team came over the radio, told him they weren't conserving, that is, enough fuel. They're concerned about that. Well, he's dropped back further than they wanted. Now back in 26, Regan.
Josh, at the top of the show, I said Kyle Busch, one of the most fierce competitors on the racetrack. Usually with that fierceness comes fieriness on the radio, but he has been abnormally calm today, even with adversity, hitting the wall, a tire nearly coming off after a pit stop. Kyle has not said a word. He has been calm and focused in that race car. Jamie?
Joey Logano, your leader right now, right where he started this race up front. He's been really happy with the race car. They just told him, manage your fuel when you can, and that's something hard to do that you guys in the booth have been talking about when you're leading this race.
Why is it so important to save fuel now?
Well, you want to be in the window that everybody else is in, and we saw Joey Logano go 100% and back up to 74%, but you don't want to have to pit by yourself. We heard somebody earlier talk about having to pit by themselves, but those Fords have taken control. I saw Brad Keselowski several laps ago duck down and started this Ford train on the bottom.
Also gives you options on that pit lane. The more fuel you save in that race car, when you get it to pit road, the tighter you have a pit stop, the quicker you can get out of your box. Less fuel they have to put on.
Well, we saw Denny Hamlin do that the other night to win one of the duels. He went from 17th to 2nd, and next thing you know, he's right up in the front having a chance to win.
Larry Mack.
Yeah, Mike, if you go back to the first 2 stages, these drivers should be able to go to about lap 180, 181, 19, 20 to go. But I think you're seeing the Fords assemble on the bottom of the racetrack. I think they're thinking about coming a little earlier, maybe in the next 5, 6, 7 laps.
Like what you're putting down right there, picking it up, Larry. These Fords, as soon as they all move down, Kevin and I raise an eyebrow. They are definitely in position to pit amongst one another.
So why is Brad Keselowski keeping close tabs on Joey Logano? Because Brad said Joey has been the best, 1 second better than other drivers on the last 3 green flag pit stop cycles we've had in the 500 going into this year. There's something Logano does better than anybody else.
Well, he gets on the pit road better. He's just better under braking on these super speedway tracks. He gets all the way to the left and is able to make up time, but that also goes with getting down pit road better, doing all the little things good, and Joey Logano just steps up when it's time to win races.
30 laps to go. Now Saturday night on Fox Primetime Hoops, top-ranked UConn is on a mission to repeat as national champ. They'll take on Big East rival Villanova. They have their sights set on a major upset. Coverage begins Saturday 7 Eastern, only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Logano trying to manage both lanes here. All right, pit stops coming up soon. So let's take our last scheduled side-by-side break so we can be with you to the finish. Coming to 25 laps to go. Joey Logano, David Reagan, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, the front four. No moves to pit road as yet. Down in the infield media center, Al Pierce of Auto Week covering his 55th Daytona 500. Al was here for Pete Hamilton's win for Petty Enterprises in 1970.
Well, we always talk about strength in numbers, Kevin, and you finally see all those Mustangs lined up on the bottom. It's pretty strong.
Yeah, and they definitely have strength in numbers right now, and they also have the shield to keep those guys on the outside from getting to the bottom when it's time to pit, because at some point they're going to have to pit here shortly.
We know that's coming, and that's a very good point.
Got the Ford Performance on board with Ryan Blaney right here.
A football field a second. Those are yard markers coming off turn number 4. Now up in that lead pack, Ryan Preece, third on the inside in the 41. He is the first car 1 lap down, trying to maintain that position to get back on the lead lap if we have a caution.
Right now he's an asset. Stay right there. Keep this baby rolling.
Here's the Advent Health Cam for Eric Jones. In 43, Daniel Hemrick just ahead. Bubba Wallace just ahead to the outside. This is the most laps Joey Logano has led in the Daytona 500. When he won in 2015, he led 31 circuits. Tonight, he's been out front for 41. He's been by far the strongest Ford. But Brad Keselowski's team added a third car just for the 500. David Reagan, well-known super speedway star. He's won here. He's in second place with Brad in fourth. Jamie.
Yeah, and how about David Reagan? He's one of our analysts here on NASCAR on Fox, and he'll run a race or two a year, but he got this opportunity from Brad Keselowski, and he is showing exactly why he was the guy for the job. 2 career wins. They both came on this style of track, and he's going to be going for the win here in no time at all. Great job by David Reagan tonight.
David does a lot of simulator work and wheel force work and things for
pit stops.
Ford. Here we go.
A couple of the Toyotas break off. 5 cars coming this time. By Ty Gibbs. Well, it's 2 Toyotas and 3 Chevrolets. Kind of a mixed bag.
Well, that's actually Riley Herbst there in the Monster Energy car.
Yeah, it's Riley Herbst. Yep.
I think you're going to see possibly these Fords stacked up on the bottom trying to make their move to the pits. This is time for that magical stop. No mistakes. Do not get caught speeding. Cannot recover from it.
And from a driver's standpoint, this is the most intense time when you know you have to get to pit road and get everything that you can get, but also not hit anybody.
There is Ty Gibbs. Now, the cars that just pitted were not among the leaders at the front of the pack.
Come the Toyotas.
And they are from the back of the pack. 7 cars, 8 cars pitting here.
Bell, Reddick, Truex, it's all most of the Toyotas. Denny is not amongst them.
Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace, there's Ty Gibbs in the 54, and Nemechek. Fuel only and away. They'll come out in a pretty tight pack, at least 5 of them will here. All right, how long do the Fords and Chevys stay out? Every lap you run, that's less time you have to spend on pit road. Another group, a small group of 3, peel off from the back. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch, unlikely allies pitting here.
Well, they were together on the racetrack, and sometimes you just have to go with the fastest car and whoever's around you at that particular time. And this is what we talked about earlier. Sometimes your strategy is out the window and you just have to do what you have to do when it's time to stop.
Kind of surprised me it was just a couple cars, though.
Justin Haley pitted with them, but it took them a while to get the fuel can connected to Haley.
This time. Here they come. That's the Ford boys. No mistakes.
Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski peel off. That's Josh Berry, Ryan Preece, David Reagan, Ryan Blaney trying to muscle up through. 5 wide. They come to the timing line.
Well, we saw exactly what Brad Keselowski was talking about with Joey Logano. Look at that lead that he has on those guys, and that all came in the braking zone.
See Chastain still on racetrack, still leading the Chevrolet camp. Stenhouse in tow.
Logano and Keselowski get out first with Reagan. And those three hooked up may be tough to beat if we stay green here.
Well, the games are going to begin on the back straightaway.
Here comes everybody else. Ross Chastain in front of Kyle Larson on the outside. Stenhouse and Suarez on the inside. William Byron, Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott, all the Hendrick cars. And Anthony Alfredo.
Yeah, and all these guys that are on pit road right now, they're pitting later, so it should be less time in the pits because of the amount of fuel that they're taking.
Big pack coming off turn number 4 as they leave and try to get back up to speed.
You see the Ford camp right there in your screen, folks. Got a good chain going.
Yep.
Getting up through the, but there is a huge pack behind them coming.
Logano, Keselowski, Reagan, Blaney, and more. If that outside lane stays open, they're just going to inhale this whole field because they are at speed.
You see all 3 groups right there connecting, merging in one.
Logano drops to the inside, trying to sniff a draft from the Toyotas ahead of him. Back to the outside.
Well, and that's all that momentum that you have with the more speed because you've been out there long, and you see Kyle Larson do a great job. That's exactly what they needed to do. Kyle Larson and William Byron staggered themselves, and Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski have to weave in and out like you're going through a set of cones.
And you see Chastain, they were the last ones to pit. So far, so good. They were able to make those blocks. Logano, can they hold him back? Chastain's going to have to slow him down, and he does. Stenhouse, not so much.
Boy, Logano and Keselowski are going to be a tough combination to beat.
Well, they got beat right there because of some guts, and those guys putting those blocks on and slowed that line down because they did a way better job getting on and off of pit road and had those guys beat by a fair amount of time, and that all came from defense with those Chevrolets.
Stenhouse leads the inside, Chastain the outside. There's Logano and Keselowski.
I agree with you, Kevin. The Ford camp led by Logano, they did a fantastic job on pit road collectively. Their efficiency of the pit stop was much better than the others, but them slowly but surely, one by one, slowing their line down by the blocks enabled them to stay in front. Talking about Chastain.
Yeah, and Chastain gave up that outside line to go down in front of Ricky Stenhouse in another Chevrolet. I'm not sure that was the right thing to do because I just believe that Joey Logano has always been one of the best pushers. But as this goes, you can see that it's getting physical. We're 3 wide in the middle of the pack back there, and things are going to start to happen in a much more physical way than they have.
Flip side of what you said, I like what Chastain did. If I'm him, I'm getting on the bumper of Stenhouse in that 47.
Yeah,
I don't want to be on the bumper of that.
The reason
22.
that it helped, that 3 car there was slow car. He was getting a draft.
Big block. Pulled up front
top
of
with a block.
Logano. They're going to get 3 wide here, stacking them up. That was close.
Yeah, 3 wide mid-pack on back.
Now Stenhouse to the lead. Last year's Daytona 500 winner.
And Suarez leading the inside group. Chevrolet is to the front. Well, if you like pack racing, Sunday, the NASCAR Cup Series heads to Atlanta for more high-speed action. It's the Ambetter Health 400 that kicks off with pre-race at 2 Eastern and the green flag at 3, and it's only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. More of the same.
Well, now we see Daniel Suarez at the front of the racetrack, so this is going to continue changing as we go through all these shifts and blocks and everything that's getting ready to happen.
Well, it all happened on that outside. Chastain made a move. Stenhouse was slow to the block, didn't get up in front of them, got them bottled up. Got them 3 wide. That was close.
We talk about the importance of finding your teammate and getting online and lined up with your manufacturer and your teammate.
It's getting ready to get ugly here, boys.
Last year, The top 7 positions in the Daytona 500, 7 different teams in the top 7 spots.
Chase Elliott to the front. Bold move on the outside of his teammate Byron. It was so tight off of 2 there, Kevin.
See the 2 Hendrick cars down on the bottom. Alex Bowman pushing William Byron right up to the front.
And Chevrolet's now controlling all 3 lanes.
Yeah, and right now the control is kind of out the window because they are just pushing and shoving to try to get all the way to the front, and the pushes just keep getting bigger and bigger. You see the flames coming out of Eric Jones' car there in the 43.
And we're told that Bubba Wallace, 2-time Daytona 500 runner-up, is going to have to stop. They didn't get enough fuel to make it to the finish.
3 wide. This energy back there forward. I look back 4 rows back. You see Reddick back there in that black and yellow car. Right in there. Calamity, buddy. It is coming. You can feel the intensity really ratcheting up right here.
I'm with you, Clint.
The Toyota's kind of scattered between the lanes, not really together. But look on the high side, 22, 6, 12. Those 3 Fords together, all proven winners. Logano, Keselowski, Blaney. If they can get to the front, they could be tough to deal with.
Big pushes in that middle lane.
Well, we see the top lane surge with a good push, and that middle lane they had big pushes, but they just got all squirrely there and checked the momentum up. But Ross Chastain is putting his car right where he needs to be to keep those guys behind there. And what Joey Logano's going to do is try to shove him out there too far so he can give himself some space to try to sneak underneath him.
That's exactly right. And take Keselowski, but Keselowski moved him out of the way. Here comes Brad to the outside.
Keselowski looking for second. Chastain trying to hold back both lanes. That's a tall order here.
Listen to this spotter. Timely blocks. An untimely block, one little bit, one little slip up by 1 inch, and it's going to be all over with.
Well, it didn't cycle exactly the way that Logano wanted it to cycle, but he got Ross Chastain out there far enough to give himself a lane, and he winds up right back in front of Brad.
Chastain spotter Brandon McReynolds pretty busy right here as Logano pulls alongside. Coming to 10 laps to go. 30 drivers on the lead lap. Each trying to find the way to victory lane in the sport's biggest race.
Give is over. Take from now on. Don't give an inch.
Denny Hamlin said it all week. He said, I'm going to be selfish. Don't care about manufacturers, don't care about teammates. I'm here for me.
You see everybody lifting. You see the flames out of the pipes. Both lanes, all 3 lines for that matter. That's them stacking up. That's blocks up front, stacks them up behind. That's where the trouble's going to happen.
And when they stack up that bad, you have to let off the throttle in order to check the car up enough and probably touch the brake as well. But that just gives you an idea of the energy of this pack as they all keep pushing and shoving their way forward. Here we go again.
Chastain, lone wolf up here leading this pack with those 2 Fords behind him. Block, block, block. He knows they're wanting around him. They're going to make a move. Speaking of moves, Keselowski to the inside again. Back up in front of Logano.
And Chastain saw it coming and went up with him.
Now Logano to the outside. They can't get around.
Whoa! Keselowski gets turned by William Byron. Blaney gets caught up. Gilliland, Truex, Hamlin, and more.
All those Fords were struggling to get around Chastain. Who could get around and get that clean air track position first? That's what happened.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. I mean, it's a parking lot down there. Cars parked everywhere.
Blaney out. Big damage on him.
Toe link broke on the back. That one's done.
Keselowski all wadded up. Gilliland, the black and red car, right with him. Anthony Alfredo there.
Reddick, massive damage on him.
Thursday night winner Tyler Reddick. Martin Truex. Eric Jones comes to pit road. So does Kyle Larson. Denny Hamlin made it back to the pits. So did Chris Buescher.
Well,
a lot of damage.
It just had it just always gets to this point. As you get to the end of the race, the pushes get harder. Everybody's just throwing caution to the wind to say, the heck with it. I'm going to the front. Martin Truex tore it. He's tore it bad right there.
Well, Chastain, I mean, he was, I'd say he was a lone wolf up there. He was throwing blocks left and right, and they were making moves.
It was Alex Bowman with a push into William Byron that did not go well.
But it was the movement in front of them started stacking those guys up.
Yeah, when they get to blocking and moving out of line, those bump drafts just become misaligned, and all that energy going forward, they can't stop it, and they wind up running into the back of each other, misaligned, and they wreck, just like they did right there.
Chase Briscoe, the Mahindra Tractors cam, as he said stopped. Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney. Here's some audio from William Byron.
Yeah, I think we just got crossed up there, like the 6 and the 1 were changing lanes a bunch, and I was getting pushed.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we just mentioned. So let's take a look at it. Yeah, and you're going to see William Byron right here. Oh, we got.
Actually, all three of those.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good.
all three of those.
I'm glad you hit that.
And you see Alex Bowman up the racetrack, and then they start zigging and zagging here. And
well, obviously, William Byron and Bowman, that's where it ended up. But the movement from the 6 and the 22, jockeying for position, trying to outduel one another to that position of passing Chastain, that's what stacked all those guys up and got them in trouble. Those guys were going for it. Chastain was holding them up. You saw the 6 go to the bottom. You saw the 22 go to the outside. The race was on, and unfortunately, those guys behind him.
This gives you a much better view right there. You see the 24 car just being pushed, and sometimes you're not aligned, and you know you're not lifting, and that car gets to moving around, and you hope it works out, and it just didn't work out right here.
We saw this same scenario playing out at the duels the other night when Blaney got in a wreck. You really can't pin it on anybody. It's hard racing, everybody going for it, but when those cars move in front of them, it slows the energy down.
Let's ride with Alex Bowman.
He was trying to stay off of him.
And you heard him lifting out of the gas.
Several times. This probably tells the other part of the story. You're not going to run 3 wide that long.
Well, we said it several laps ago, right? We both said it. The way that the pushes were coming, it was just a matter of time before this happened. And with the energy and everything that there is right now, it's just too much for the cars to handle to go straight. And that was a classic example of just getting shoved a little bit too hard and getting out of shape, and it's not time to lift.
Here's Denny Hamlin.
What a terrible feeling.
Nothing you could do. Long for the ride. Landed right in his lap.
And we'll look out the back of Ross Chastain's number 1.
Oh.
And this is Ross Chastain's crew, led by Phil Surgeon. Yep, they were out in front of it.
I mean, that was inches that they missed the back bumper of that car.
Yeah, when Kozlowski turns.
Oh my gosh. If that left rear quarter panel wasn't curved in a little bit, I mean, it went right with the curvature of the left rear quarter panel.
Ross Chastain and Brandon McReynolds did a phenomenal job of keeping those guys behind him. Had he slipped up one time and missed a block, he'd have been right in the middle of that.
All right, let's do this next replay in real time. Chase Briscoe, the Mahindra tractor cam. Wow, that was Days of Thunder right there.
I mean, it's just a typical super speedway wreck that happened at the front of the pack at the end of the straightaway, and there's just nowhere to go and nothing to do. You just hope you're not damaged as bad as everybody else.
Now the driver's not just there along for the ride. Let's watch Daniel Suarez. You saw that steering wheel spin hard. That's why he's got his hands off it to avoid injury.
Yeah, and I saw him squint his eyes after that first hit. Those were big hits.
All right, Denny Hamlin next.
Yeah, those hits are coming from behind the car, and those are the worst hits in this car as you're getting rear-ended. And you see his head fly forward. Those are actually coming from the back of the car. Some of them are from the front, but the first couple shots are from the back of the car, and that's just the violence of the wrecks that happen in this vehicle.
Wow. And here's Eric Jones.
Never stopped driving.
No, he'd drive it all the way, but I like the way he had it hands on the wheel where he couldn't get a thumb or a finger caught in the spokes if that thing jerked around on him.
Yeah, foot on the throttle too. He was wheeling it. Oh, that one got his wrist.
Yeah,
that one got his wrist.
Grabbed his hand. Yeah,
a tough week for Ryan Blaney. Thursday night and Monday night. Joey Logano.
You see how quick they want to get their hands off the wheels with these rack and pinion steerings, Kevin. Tell us how much stronger that is than what it used to be.
Yeah, and that's the reason that you see a lot more of these guys take their hands off the wheel, because the rack will just jerk your hands out, and if your thumbs are in there, it'll break them. We saw Ryan Blaney grab his wrist there. Eric Jones, he held onto the wheel, but he holds the wheel with his thumbs up on top of the wheel. A lot of guys do not. They hold their thumb around the wheel, and the spokes will literally rip your thumbs off and break them.
Yeah, I think it was his wrist. It could have been his thumb. I mean, to your point, usually is. That's why it hooks your wrist.
Yeah, and a lot of times when that wheel is spinning around like that, sometimes it'll hurt your shoulder a little bit too as the wheels come in the opposite way. But you'll see his right hand right here. Oh.
Ryan's ready to get out of here.
He's ready to go home. Yes.
Todd Gilliland, the last driver to climb from his car on the backstretch. Everyone whose car could not be driven back to pit road climbed out and is okay. Walked to the ambulance to be taken to the infield care center and checked out. 18 cars in all involved in this pileup at the end of the back straightaway, which is now the world's fastest salvage yard.
You knew it was coming. That energy was building. At the end of the Daytona 500. No more take or no more give. It was all take, and unfortunately wiped a bunch of them out, Kevin.
Well, now it's just a matter of how many of these guys are wrecked really bad and who's not wrecked bad enough to be done. Even if you're not wrecked bad enough to be done, it's it's good to salvage some of those positions. But man, we got a ton of really big names on this list.
Now, not all of these cars are out of the race.
That's
Roughly half of them have made it back to pit road, but with the red flag out, no work is allowed to be done on these cars until the red is lifted and the yellow flag resumes. So cars that were either undamaged or chose not to stop prior to pit road being opened are lined up here on the back straightaway. And as soon as the track is clean enough to resume competition, the yellow will come out, pit road will be opened, and they'll get serviced. Let's go down to pit road. Jamie Little.
Bill Surgeon is the crew chief for Ross Chastain, the leader. Haven't talked about Ross a whole lot tonight. And here we are, 8 laps to go, and you guys are leading. How good is the car, and do you think that it's good enough to win this?
Yeah, car's been strong all night. First stage, played the strategy right, had some good help, finished third. Second stage was a little quieter. We had dropped back to try to avoid some of the melee and never had an opportunity to really get back up into it. Finished in the teens. Stage 3, we played the strategy right. We positioned ourselves well. Never can tell what's going to happen from here. I expect another caution, but the car's been strong. The guys have done a great job on pit road, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, Pitbull is one of the owners of this team. How cool would it be for Pitbull to be holding that Daytona 500 trophy? We'll find out soon, Mike.
Thanks, Jamie. 4 Chevrolets in the top 5 right now. Austin Cindric, the only Ford. And the first Toyota is Christopher Bell in 6th.
As we go through this scenario here and we see all these cars wrecked, and now we see these cars sitting on pit road. Larry, can you explain to us the process that the DVP clock that they have to go through and everything that the rules require after you're wrecked?
Yeah, Kevin, it's the damaged vehicle policy, and you basically have 7 minutes, and that minutes is accumulative, and it starts from the time you enter pit road to the time you exit pit road. And if you leave pit road and come back around, the clock doesn't reset. It continues to pick up and running. And at a super speedway, you have to have things like the rear bumper in place. You have to have the door panels in place, the deck lid, the rear spoiler. A lot of things that has to still be on that car and functional. All the flaps, hood flaps, roof flaps, all those things still have to be functional, and that has to all be done in a total time of 7 minutes, including entering and exiting pit road.
Thanks, Larry. Let's go to the Advent Health Care Center and join Josh Sims.
Yeah, and Ryan Blaney checked and released from the Care Center. Ryan, we were here Thursday night, very frustrated after that. How does this wreck compare? How is the risk and the emotions?
Well, I'm definitely not as frustrated after Thursday night. This was just, racing at the end of the 500, and this one didn't hurt nearly as bad, so that part's nice. But, yeah, it's a shame. I thought we had a shot at it. Up in the first, few rows, we would be kind of second in the road, depending on where the block was kind of thrown, and thought we were in a decent spot, especially if the 6 got to the inside of the 1. I could kind of finally get behind Joey and try to get hooked up with him, but yeah, just unfortunate end with our Peak Menards Ford Mustang, really fast. But yeah, the wheel I got turned. That was, yeah. And then, yeah, the wheel snapped. I usually let go of the wheel, but I didn't think it had anything in it. So, yeah, I'm okay. My wrist is good, and just one of those weird deals. But proud of the effort by the 12 boys. Shame we tore up a couple race cars, but going next week.
Thanks. I'm glad you're okay, Ryan.
Well, that's good to hear on his wrist, because the way he held it up right there, you never know.
One tough cat right there.
So there sit the cars that were not involved or were not damaged enough to go to pit road.
We still got plenty of horses in this race. Chastain, Bowman, teammates, Byron behind him, Cindric, Chase Elliott, he is back. I like Busch back there. He ain't out yet.
Josh.
Down here with Brad Kozlowski, checked and released from the Care Center. Brad, we know so close once again to having a shot to win the Great American Race. What did you see there from the in-car, and what happened in your perspective?
Yeah, in-car, all I know is got hit from the back. So just one of those deals at this track, everybody pushes. That's how you race here. And we got caught up in it. Just glad to be competitive, glad to be running up front, glad to have a chance. We were making the pass for the lead to win the Daytona 500. That's about all you can ask for with 8 laps to go. And it just it didn't work out.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad and Joey going for it. I mean, that's what it is. That's what you want. You want your best drivers going for the biggest race of the year. They were going for it. Unfortunately, just didn't work out.
And every one of them will be back behind the wheel and ready to try to win next Sunday in Atlanta. Regan?
Well, Chase Elliott's crew chief, Alan Gustafson, you got your driver in position now. You've been up front today. You've been in the middle today. You've been all over the racetrack. A masterful job of getting through that wreck. Can you get it done now?
Yeah, that was amazing. The seas kind of poured in for us to make it through there. So, yeah, guys have done great. Chase has done great. The Napa Chevy's been strong all day. And, yeah, hopefully we don't have any left front tire damage that would necessitate a stop here. But I think it's good enough. We can let it roll. It's the Daytona 500, right? Got to give it a shot. So it's going to be hairy, but, you know, we're in a good shot to go compete for it. So hopefully we can go get it for everybody at HMS. Mr. H is 40th.
Good luck. Thanks, Alan.
Josh?
Joe Logano released from the Care Center. Joey, from your perspective, what happened there and what are the emotions you're feeling right now?
I'm pissed off, if that's my emotions. I don't know. I was riding up against the top there, and I just know Brad got turned up into me. I don't know exactly what happened. So the one was throwing hellacious blocks most of the time. I know that, but I don't know. I didn't see what started it there. So just a bummer. The Shell Penzo Mustang. It was so fast. I think it could lead a line like you wouldn't believe. Had so much speed in it. It's just it's Speedway racing. It's a lot of fun until it sucks, and I'm on this end of it today.
Thanks, Joey.
Joey Logano started from the pole, led 45 laps tonight, more than any other driver, and arguably had the best car here tonight.
Well, he definitely led a bunch of laps and did everything he needed to do. You just sometimes, it's like I talked earlier, it's 50-50. Whether you make it, whether that just misses your back bumper like Ross Chastain or it clips the back of it and wrecks you like it did Joey Logano. Just go through those cycles and waves of being on both sides of it.
Might be my favorite quote ever. A lot of fun till it sucks.
Yeah.
The big one happens at Daytona. We are under the red flag with 8 laps to go. Well, the bottom dropped out for 18 cars in this pileup in turn number 3. And the red flag has been lifted. 7 laps to go. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, powering the race from green to checkered flag and every mile in between. Goodyear, more driven. Well, after all that, Hendrick Motorsports has 3 cars in the top 5. Rick Hendrick started his team 40 years ago today with 5 employees in a 5,000 square foot rented shop. I think their gift shop today is bigger than that, and they have over 500 employees and a ton of wins.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't even know if it makes sense, but if anybody won that wreck, it was Hendrick Motorsports. Still having 3 of their cars in this thing in the top 5, Hendrick Motorsports might be their day.
Well,
last time they won the Daytona 500 was the last time they didn't sit on the pole. Oh, by the way, didn't sit on the pole this year.
And they are not pitting.
Well, we see a whole bunch of cars pitting.
I know the 300 cars that are in that.
No.
Are not, but yes.
Yeah, we see a whole. I'm surprised, like you, that so many are pitting, but I think a lot of them probably slid their tires trying to. Either they were spinning in the wreck or trying to slow up so hard that they slid the tires under the wreck, so they went through a lot of debris and different things. So everybody just wants to keep it clean and put some tires on.
And if you don't have that track position up front, why not? Might as well make sure that no flat tires, no damage. Let's get back out there.
6 laps to go in the Daytona 500.
Oh, teammates!
Around they go in a hard crash.
Daytona 500, are you kidding me?
This one sucks when you're that close.
Austin Cindric, the winner of the Daytona 500.
Second's the worst, man. He is so close.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Daytona 500 winner.
Go!
That is Firebird 1, a General Motors dream car conceived by Chief Stylist Harley Earl, and it tops the Harley Earl Trophy, the most coveted single-day prize in stock car racing. One of these drivers will win it in as few as 5 laps from now. The big one stays on display here. The small one goes to the winner. Ross Chastain chose the outside for this restart. William Byron took the bottom. Teammate Alex Bowman to the outside. Then Austin Cindric inside and Chase Elliott outside. 4 Chevys in the front 5. Cindric's Ford, and then Christopher Bell's Toyota, which has been hanging around the top half dozen all night.
A lot of Chevys up front, 8 of the top 10.
Justin Marks has Chastain in the lead and rookie Zane Smith in 9th. 2 drivers in the top 10.
Kevin, you heard Logano in his interview talking about Chastain, the blocks that he was putting on. Can he keep that up?
Well, it's not. He's not going to stop. I can promise you that. He's going to do everything he can do to try to win the Daytona 500, and he knows, all those guys know. They know the magnitude and the history and everything that comes with the Daytona 500, and this is just, like you talk, one of those races that you just do more than you would normally do.
All right, 40th anniversary of these Hendrick boys, 3 of them up there. How do they work together and try to pounce on him, take advantage of that?
Well, they lined up it's interesting the way that they lined up, because you got William Byron on the bottom with Austin Cindric behind him, and then you have Ross Chastain and the 48 of Alex Bowman and the 9 of Elliott behind him. So it's just all going to come down to the pushes.
Only one driver in the top 10 has been to Daytona 500 victory lane, and that's Austin Cindric. Ross Chastain won the last race of last year at Phoenix. Last person to do that and then win the 500, Jeff Gordon, 1998 to 99. 4 laps to go. We're back to green.
See that top row? Really, everybody's formed up good, and I think as we just saw that huge wreck, I don't think that's going to keep any of those guys from pushing any harder than they were before. They're going to all keep pushing and shoving and trying to win this race.
Yeah, that's out the window. Not an option anymore.
Strength in numbers, Chevrolet dominates the top 10 right now.
Keep an eye on that rearview mirror. The energy is going to come from these pushes from behind. The accordion's going to be in effect. They're going to come fast.
7 of the top 10 are Camaros, with Cindric's Ford, Bell and Nemechek in Toyotas.
Somebody's going to make a move. Where's this move going to come from? See that energy. The shot from Chase Elliott into his teammate Bowman. That's going to provide an opportunity for them to make a move.
Cindric gave Byron a shot, pushed him to the lead. Can he get him far enough in front for Cindric to make the lane change and have a shot to win it?
Comes this outside lane again, Kevin.
Well, that's going to change the momentum of that middle lane, and that bottom lane still formed up. You see Chase Elliott pull in front of the outside lane, and there goes Ross Chastain, because it all broke up.
Bit of contact there midfield as William Byron, who succeeded Jeff Gordon in the Hendrick number 24, is out front.
Huge pushes on that outside. They kept getting in one another, had to back off. Accordion effect, stacked them up. Everybody had to lift. Broke that line up big time.
Cindric tried the top, no, got back in line. Now Chastain has a push.
A lot of energy on this outside. Chastain, here he comes, Kevin.
Well, we saw the same thing that happened to the top lane with the bottom lane. They got broke up, and now we've got William Byron leading the bottom lane with Austin Cindric behind him. Ross Chastain leading the outside lane.
1 lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank, and away they go. That is Cindric into Chastain and up into traffic.
Did they complete that lap?
And did the leader get the white flag?
This
Caution
could be
waving.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close.
I don't know if he got it out in time. I
believe they saw the white flag.
I think it's William Byron.
I think so too.
It was a block by him, caused Chastain to move down.
Ross Chastain gets away and will come around to see the final flag of the night. We are under caution with the accident happening just past the start-finish line. Austin Cindric going for a wild ride here, as did Ross Chastain.
You see the light on, you see Bowman ahead of Byron right there, but need to back it up and see this again.
And we'll await a ruling from NASCAR.
Regardless, if it's going to be those two, you see the checkered flag out. It's a Hendrick Motorsports win. The question is, who won it for him?
And the Daytona 500.
Race winner will be the 24. We'll need the 24 in the start-finish line.
Goes to victory lane, William Byron. from Charlotte, North Carolina, Rudy Fugel, his crew chief.
You won? Yes, we won.
Unbelievable. 40 years to the day, Hendrick Motorsports goes 1-2 at the Daytona 500.
Yeah, boys. Oh.
Byron's last win came at Texas in September. It's his 11th career win. Started out playing video games, racing on his computer, says, Dad, I want to try this.
Oh.
They came to Charlotte and hopped in legend cars. He started winning all the way to NASCAR, won in Truck Series Xfinity Champ. Now, Daytona.
Well, and you look at last year and everything that William Byron and this team were able to accomplish, and now to win the Daytona 500. These guys are for real. I love the progression that William Byron has made as a driver with his team, and here they are again.
Huge year for William Byron last year. He just keeps the momentum up, keeps getting better. How about the 24 in Victory Lane at Daytona again? What a ride. What a finish.
That was wild.
It was so close to the start-finish line, I couldn't tell if they got to it or not. We know it's official. Obviously it was. 1-2 finish for Hendrick Motorsports. You can't script it any better than that, folks.
Unofficially, 22 cars finish on the lead lap. Some of them pretty well bent up. Not this one. A few battle scars from the way the day went along, and he didn't trigger the big one, but was involved in it. Got turned into Brad Keselowski.
Well, just some advice. I would stay out of the grass. We want to see some burnouts. Please don't get stuck.
He's going to go right out there across Daytona. I don't blame him. That's where I'd want to park it.
Byron had never finished better than 21st in the 500, scoring Rick Hendrick's 302nd NASCAR Cup Series win, and the 9th for Hendrick Motorsports, tying them with Petty Enterprises for the most 500 wins. Richard Petty won 7. Lee Petty, Pete Hamilton went to Victory Lane for that North Carolina-based team. William Byron goes to capture the flag after an event-filled Daytona 500, in which he led only the final 4 laps.
They came with a different plan, and boy, did it pay off for them. Hendrick Motorsports.
On the finish of the race, instead of going back to look at scoring loops, the race ends at the moment of caution. NASCAR goes back, reviews video evidence to determine the position of the cars and name a winner, who must still then complete the final lap and come to the checkered flag. Tonight, that was William Byron. He becomes a record 6th different driver to win the 500 for Hendrick Motorsports. Jamie Little, trackside.
And William Byron at 26 years old, you've worked so hard in such a short period of time. How does Daytona 500 champion sound to you right now?
It sounds really damn good. It's just thanks to an awesome crowd coming out. I have so many emotions. Obviously, hate what happened on the backstretch. I just got pushed and got sideways, but just so proud of this team. Whole Exalta team, 40th anniversary to the day on Monday. So just extremely blessed and thankful for all the opportunities. And yeah, we just want to keep it going. We have a lot to prove this year, and this is a good start, obviously. And Daytona 500, it's freaking awesome. Let's go.
William, you have not had a good track record here. Never even finished in the top 10. What was the difference here tonight in getting yourself positioned to be there at the end?
I don't know, just really good strategy. We obviously laid back and tried to save fuel for most of the race, and we would get up there at the end of the stages and make some moves, and I see Boss Man coming up here, but yeah, just thankful for great power into the hood, all of our partners, Chevrolet, everybody that allows us to do this. And I'm just a kid from racing on computers and winning the Daytona 500. I can't believe it. I wish my dad was here. He's sick, but this is for him, man. We've been through so much, and we sat up in the grandstands together and watched the race. This is so freaking cool.
Go see your boss right there, Mr. Hendrick, waiting for him.
Alex Bowman completes the Hendrick 1-2 finish in the Daytona 500. You came really close, Alex. How close was that from your perspective as you crossed the line?
Yeah, I was pretty sure William had us, but you're going to let him debate it, right? I think a couple hundred more feet, and obviously we had the run, but just so proud of everybody at Hendrick Motorsports. It's 40 years to the day since they ran their first race. So to get a Hendrick Motorsports 1-2, have the 24 car in victory lane. Obviously, I wish it was our Ally 48, but it was a great day for us. So proud of everybody. We did everything we could right. I feel like I made a couple mistakes early and kind of learned throughout the day. And when it came down to the end, I feel like I made the right moves. Having to go up and block the top lane at the end with like 3 to go there, that just slowed us down and kind of killed the momentum of the middle. But still second place in the Daytona 500, HMS 1-2. Great for Chevrolet and everybody involved. So wish it was one spot better, but still proud of the whole team.
Thanks, Alex.
Chevrolet considered an underdog coming into the 500. The Toyotas won the qualifying races. The Fords won the front row. Chevrolet takes home the big trophy. 100 wins at Daytona for Chevrolet.
All right, let's back this up and watch. You see the momentum on the outside. Chastain, Bowman pushing him. Watch the energy coming. Chastain gets out on him. All of a sudden, here comes the energy from Bowman to Chastain. Big pushes coming. Puts Chastain in a momentum situation. Byron sees him coming. He hears him block right there. Chastain moves, shoots the gap, clips Hendrick, turns him around.
Yeah, and Chastain had the right idea of where he needed to go.
He went for it.
The caution came out at the wrong time, and William Byron winds up winning the race with the timing of the caution on the white flag lap.
From Alex Bowman.
Watch this push. Here he goes for the gap, shoots it, closed in. He was going for it.
All those guys are going for it. Everybody was doing exactly what they had to do. Eric Jones's Advent Health camera here as they're coming to the white. Seeing everything spin, he made it through.
And watch Chastain here. Man, he misses this inside wall so close when he spins down here. Watch how close he gets to this end of the pit road wall.
And the other thing that I noticed.
Watch this, Kevin.
Oh,
just barely
missed. But the thing I noticed from that camera angle and the sound, I never heard him lift.
Nope.
Not until he was in the grass.
You ain't lifting the end of this race, going for it. You think he's happy?
Jeff Gordon, vice chair of Hendrick Motorsports. Ross Chastain is known for making the big move, the Hail Melon, the win last November at Phoenix. And he was probably one move away from winning the Daytona 500 tonight. It is William Byron and Hendrick Motorsports who get to celebrate the great American race.